Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Digital Classroom. And today we have a totally different Digital Classroom for normally, because today we have a guest in our studio. First we're going to check if all the streams are alright. We see that YouTube is actually orange, and that can be correct because we're trying a different bitrate, a little bit higher, to give you guys better quality. So if you see that difference, leave comments below and let me know. And of course, because we were two people, we have slightly different audio, so it sounds a little bit more further away. We're working on that if we do this more. So let's start our Digital Classroom with our good friend Martin Hogeboom. And there we go. Well, let me first welcome you to our studio, Martin. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Okay, awesome. So for people who don't know, normally Digital Classroom is like this, a live broadcast where I show you setups with lighting and I show you different retouching techniques. And the idea was actually to do it only for 2 years. But both Rogue and Expo Imaging Rogue Expo Imaging and BenQ, they both like the show that much that we're now actually going into our fourth season. Our fourth season, that's ridiculous. And so I thought, like, you know what, I don't want to do the photo shoots that often anymore. I want to do something else. So we did the story of the image, and at one point I was going like, why not just ask one of my colleagues to do like a 2-hour live interview? And the first name that popped up my mind was, of course, well, Martin, for the very simple reason, it's somebody that I really like. It's somebody that I think makes awesome work, and he actually speaks English very well. So that's why we asked Martin. So Martin, please introduce yourself to our viewers.
Thank you, Frank. I'm honored by your words. Thanks.
More than welcome.
Of course. Yes, I'm a photographer like you. My main job is photography. You teach a lot. I teach a little bit besides my photography. And my main subject is people. I love shooting portraits. I love shooting on location, and that's because I'm a people person, as they say. So I love connecting with people, hearing their stories. But I also like the freedom of my job, like jumping in my car or on an airplane and going to places I've never been before and trying to make something beautiful, like a beautiful portrait or reportage or something like that. So.
The cool thing, and that's already, I will drop the audio just a little bit down, a little bit distorted, I know. So let's just try the audio a little bit lower. So Bart, this should be better probably. But the first thing that you said, I'm a person, people. I like talking to persons. Yep. It's actually during the workshops, you know, it's the most difficult part for people, that they have to connect with their sitter. It's like, somehow we think that photography and that camera is the same thing in the old days, where you just had that big cloth over your head and you looked in the camera and you were away. There was this barrier. Well, nowadays I think it's important to talk to people, right?
Of course, it was always important to talk to people, but nowadays maybe even more. And I'm really happy we don't have this big barrier between us anymore with the dark cloth over your head. I work with a really small camera. That's one of the reasons I work with a small camera, so there's no blocking between me and my subject. And like, yeah, with portrait photography, the most important thing, maybe more even than photo technically, is psychology, like knowing how to talk to people, how to connect to people. And I always put a lot of energy in connecting with people. And besides that, I also like to make a good photograph with my own style and lighting and stuff. So there's a bit of stress for me because I want to have a good conversation with the person. But I also want to do something technical, so there's a bit of stress in not letting the technical part destroy my conversation. So, but that's a nice thing about that's a challenge for me to do both things right.
And I think that's also important because a lot of people just go like, do I need to know anything about the sound system? Do I need to know my camera? Can I not just take a picture? And I always tell them, like, when you just take a picture and you talk to your client, you're always in the back of your mind going like, are the settings correct? Is my lighting setup correct? Is this correct? And it takes away from that beautiful moment where everything clicks together. And I think Platon, I don't know, of course you know Platon, I've seen some videos of him. He shot the greats of the earth, and he has this really, really simple setup, like an umbrella, a backdrop, and he has, I believe, 2 backdrops, white and dark.
Yep.
And the first thing he does is he puts down the camera and he talks to the guy like, hey, I heard that your son was graduated. And you immediately see that sitter going from, that's really stiff, going from, like they just plummet together and go like, oh yeah, and you see a totally different move. And in between he keeps talking, and then he takes 1 or 2 shots. And right. It's so frustrating. Those 1 and 2 shots are so much better than we probably can do.
Such a talent besides that. But he changes the thing from a portrait sitting to a conversation with someone.
Yes, and then take the picture just in between.
Yeah.
Okay, so talking about conversations, what we're going to do today, and don't worry guys, we're not going to do a live shoot with Martin, right? But what we're going to do is we want to make it a little bit more interesting for you guys. So we have the live stream on, we have of course a YouTube on, and we have Facebook. You can ask whatever you want to us and we will try to answer you. But of course we also prepared some images where we go through. So Martin will give some ideas about my images and I will do the other thing. And there is some connection between there and we're going to talk about it later. But first I want to just throw some stuff at Martin, and I'm not going to throw it. I just want to see his reaction. And the first thing I have on my table is actually this. And this is a Yashica mat, 124.
I know it, yeah.
Oh, you know the camera.
I've seen a thing like this before. Well, actually, I've even got one in my room, and I even put a few films through it just to try. I've been a photographer for quite a while already, so I started out with film. I used to have a dark room to develop my own films and make my own prints. Worked with slides and black and white film, and even worked a little bit with a camera like this. I got it after I stopped using cameras with film, but just for the fun I put a few films in it. And to tell you the truth, I like it, but I don't miss film really that much.
No,
I'm more a fan of digital, but I like the object as a camera. I love it. I like the design of it and the style, but I don't really miss working with film with that.
The cool thing is I don't miss working with film, but I love shooting with film, and I will tell you exactly why. And I'm so curious to see how you respond to this. And this is something also for the guys that watch. The most asked question is, how can I get better with photography? And I always tell people there are 2 ways. One, that's a very expensive one, and that's buy a Polaroid camera. Because normally when we take our, let's just take our cell phone. So here we have a cell phone, and what do you do very quickly? Boom, you take a picture. And then you come home and you go like, where's that great image I took? And it also happens when you use your normal camera. It happened to me a few times. I don't know if it ever happened to you. You're on this location and you have this beautiful location, like a mountain and a waterfall. And you just go like, this is so awesome. You take your picture and in your mind you have the best picture you ever took. Nothing can beat this image. The day progresses, you take more images, you come home and the only thing you can think about is that one picture. You empty your card into Lightroom and by miracle you forgot to take the image probably. And then you see this image which was shot on that location and you know you only shot one. So it has to be that image. You look at the image and you go like, it sucks. Did you ever experience that?
Every now and then I did, yeah. It looks different, yeah.
Yes, everybody does, because the thing is, we as photographers, we know that we have to look through the lens, but sometimes you're so mesmerized by what you see that you have your camera here and you just go like, oh wow. And you take your picture and you don't use your photographer's eyes. You just put the camera in front and you just click.
Well, sometimes it's just good to enjoy the moment and watch it happen, watch things happen, enjoy it, let it work in, and not always take a photo. Maybe sometimes it's better just to enjoy it. But I can imagine if you take a photo, you want it to be just like exactly like you remembered.
Yes, and I want to take
that's
the
the difficult thing still. Yeah.
Yes, and so why do I advise people to go to Polaroid or film? Because that's the less expensive option. Is when you have a Polaroid, every time you click, it's one image less, and it costs you 2 or 3 euros, and you only have how many exposures? 10.
10. Yeah.
10. So you only have 10. And now maybe when I want to take a picture of you, I go like, oh, this is nice. So with my phone, I would actually now take the picture. But, always shut down your sound when you do a live broadcast. There we go. So when I want to take a picture now, I will just do it. And then later on, I will look and I go like, Martin is a little bit dark on that side. His eyes doesn't have that cat's light. But when I'm with Polaroid, I look and I go like, No, that's €3. I'm not going to shoot. Can you aim a little bit more there? Okay, can you go to the light? No, I don't like the backdrop. And you start to think about all that stuff that you don't do when you're actually working with digital. Yeah. Because with digital, it's just shoot and pray.
Probably, for some people maybe. But the way I experienced it is because I work with Polaroids as well, and the expensive part was very important. It was 3.5 guilders in the old days. So I would be careful with that. But I use my camera as a more cheap Polaroid camera. So I used it. I learned a lot about working with lights by using the screen of my camera, by taking a shot, analyzing what I see if there's dark parts or lighter parts, or if I need a fill-in light, or if I need to adjust my light higher or lower, things like that. Then take the next shot a bit faster than.
So you're already thinking about it and not just shooting. Okay, that's what I want to teach the guys that are starting out with photography. Think about the shot. Before you press that shutter button, make sure that the shot is already there. And don't think I will fix it in Photoshop, or don't think it will be okay, because what we see with our eyes is totally different from what we experience on the frame. Oh, Anouk, you have a question?
Question on YouTube.
Oh, question on YouTube. That's here. Let me see, Johan, question to you both. Do you also encounter a switch on Facebook and Twitter that no longer is so easy to contact a model for a shoot? I get much less responses, or is it just me? Okay, social media, that's a little bit of my, how do you call that, favorite subject.
It is, yeah.
To really, I wanted to say a word, but I can't say that word live, but it's a subject that I really am a little bit angry about. So Facebook changed their policies. Yep. Now, in the old days, I had like an octopus working. So I posted my work on Google+, Google+, and Facebook. And from Facebook, we posted it on Twitter, on Flickr, on LinkedIn, and everything else. So Facebook changed the policy, and Facebook actually said, now you can't do that anymore. Even my blog, it's not uploaded anymore. So when I do a new blog post, I have to do it manually.
All right.
The thing is that Facebook is more and more filtering. So I don't know if you remember in the past, you saw everything from everybody. If you befriended it or if you followed it, you saw everything. I believe they're now down to, at worst case scenarios, 1%, up until 10%. And every time I use Facebook, I get this annoying pop-up for €15. All your friends will see this. And I go like, I want all my friends to see this anyway. So the question was like, do you experience on Twitter and Facebook that it's more difficult to get a model? I think the main problem is, and I want to hear your opinion on that, is because Facebook filters so much that actually it doesn't reach the models anymore.
Probably, yeah. There's the algorithms changes every time, and I still think if the models got a good connection with you already, then they must be seeing your images. Right, with the specific example with the models, I don't do a lot of calls for models on Facebook, so I can't be sure if I get less reactions or not. So I'm not sure about that.
I actually started the day before yesterday. I said, hey, we have this live stream from Digital Classroom online with Martin Hogeboom. Leave your questions below. 0 on Facebook.
Yeah.
I got some responses on email from social media, from Twitter and Google+. So they emailed me some questions. But on Facebook, 0.
So there's a change again. Yeah.
And that's the weird thing. I know that when 3 years ago, if I would put something online, I would have like 20 or 30 comments and questions. And now it's just absolutely 0.
And your fans probably didn't leave Facebook yet. So
no, and that's the thing. Everybody's on Facebook. And it's digital suicide if you go. Like I know a few guys that actually said, I'm not going to be on Facebook anymore. And just ask them, like, where are you going to now? Because everybody stays on Facebook. I do think that Facebook is pushing the limit to how far they can go. With all the advertising, with filtering. I think at one point, people will literally go to an alternative. And Google Plus was a great alternative. And what do you think? Google pulls the plug next year.
Yeah.
So I think...
expected,
Now, you know SmugMug, right?
Yeah.
They bought Flickr.
Yeah.
And what's your opinion on Flickr at the moment?
At the moment, I don't use it that much anymore. The things on social media I'm on is, of course, on Facebook. And I use Instagram and Twitter really little bit. Mostly it's Facebook and Instagram. So
So Instagram, great. But Flickr, they want to totally change the platform again to photographers sharing images, having groups discussions and whatnot more. And I really think that with SmugMug, guys, just if you have a Flickr account, keep watching it. I think Flickr will get a new revival.
Okay.
And maybe that will be the new network for us photographers.
that would be great. Yeah.
The problem is, how do you find customers on Flickr? Because it's a photography
It's only
site. How do you find
photographers,
families or customers?
Well, yeah.
So that's the problem. Let me see if we have any other questions. I didn't even see your post on Facebook, said Stuart. And that's what I mean. I did it on 3 different locations, or 3 different time slots, and he didn't even see it. So that's weird.
Yeah.
Hey Frank, Martin, greetings from Thailand. Hello, Thailand. That's awesome. You love Thailand, right? Did you?
I've been to Thailand, but it was only a short visit, and I have to go back. So I
you
was
left
there
something.
2 years ago. I left something.
You forgot your coat.
Forgot to take photos. Yeah, of course. No, we went only to Bangkok, and then we had to travel back to Turkey. So we were planning on going backpacking, and we have to finish the trip. I think maybe next year or so. So
cool.
Yeah.
What's the best country you ever visited?
Probably I think it's USA. I've done a couple of trips to America and traveled around in the West, East, New York. Traveled across the country a lot of times by motorcycle, and every time I took a lot of photos there. So I was so lucky to be shooting for Crossroads Motor Tours. That's a touring company. And to go with them to shoot photos for their brochures. So
that frustrated the heck out of me, because
I
I don't know
imagine.
if I don't know if the story is correct, but I think you told me this. The first time you rented a motorcycle from them, so you were a normal customer.
Yeah.
They saw the images, and they got you back.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they like my images so much, and that's one thing I get out of sharing my work. I shared my work right away when I was there, for them to use on their Facebook and stuff. And they liked it so much, so they rented me to go back and shoot some photos for them. So it's always good to give away some stuff, and you get a lot back for that. Pay forward. Yeah.
Guys, that's the thing. He says pay forward, and I immediately recognize something from myself in the past. I got this really step in at that point from Ellingram, the stepping strobe, the D-light.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I didn't have any connections with Ellingram whatsoever. And I got that strobe, and I just took a picture of it, and it was a cheap strobe, and we had a model in the studio, and she had like this jail suit on and a little gun. So I thought, it would be so awesome, just give her the strobe in her hands, give her the gun, and just make a text like the D-lights are a steal.
Yeah.
I sent it to Ellingram, and I thought I would never ever hear something back.
Yeah.
And they actually started as one of my sponsors because they so much liked the image. So they emailed me like, hey Frank, love this image, can we use it for promotion?
Yeah.
I said, what kind of promotion? Worldwide, every photography magazine for the next 6 months. And I was just going like, wow. The cool thing is, you know how Scott Kelby found me? Via that advert.
Yeah.
So if I would have never shot that advert and give it away for free, because in essence I gave it away for free, because I was thinking like, there's so many great photographers with Ellingram, and I was just starting, and I just thought like, you know what do you want for it? Why not just use it and put my name in it? And so did I find Scott. And of course now I switched over to Hensel, and we actually do exactly the same. And the nice thing is we actually got this from Hensel itself. Like, they have no photographer that does so much and is so uploading videos and doing stuff, that exactly what you say, it's the pay forward. If you do something, just send it to the manufacturer. You never know how it works. How a cow finds race. It's a Dutch expression. It's a Dutch expression.
It doesn't translate well.
No, it doesn't translate well.
But it's true what you say. You have to start making the work you would like to make, or to be paid to make, and start shooting that and sharing that with people. So you get known for that kind of work, and then it'll come back to you in the end.
Just give my grandmother, and she passed away. That's a shame, of course. She never understood. Like, she always said to me, "Son, why do you give so much away? Why do you do so much for free?" And I always told her, with this kind of work, you do a lot for free, and then it will eventually roll back. And if it doesn't roll back, you did something wrong.
Or and then at the end you still have a nice image for your portfolio or something like that. You had fun in the process of making it, and nothing is lost.
The fun part, that's it. When I get emails, and you probably get the same emails like, how do I get to your level of photography? How do I get clients? And I always tell people, don't hunt for it. Just do what you love, show the passion, share it with everybody, and be nice. And if you show it with passion, then you will grow. But if you go like, okay, next week I have to have a paid assignment, what do? You work for that paid assignment, it doesn't work, and you get frustrated, and you stop photography.
Yeah, you're right. I'm reading a book right now that's called. It's a really nice book. It's something about that. It's called An Audience of One, and the writer is someone who has a blog called The Accidental Creative, and the title is An Audience of One, and that already says what you have to do. You have to shoot for an audience of one, which is yourself. You have to shoot a lot of work just for yourself, just to get better, just to enjoy the process and keep on learning and eventually sharing it. But you don't have to shoot everything just to share it or to sell it. You have to keep on loving the process and shooting a lot for yourself.
The cool thing is the audience of one. Just to go a little bit further on that, when I wrote Mastering the Model Shoot, the book, I sat down with Scott Kelby in a hotel, and it was the weirdest experience ever. We had this whole lobby, and we just sat down on the floor, and he had all these piles of paper, and he said, "This is your book." He always calls me Frankie. He said, "Frankie, this is your book." And I was just looking at it. It was just one big chaotic mess. And he said, "We're going to start to make the book." So he just grabbed one of the piles, he started reading it, and they divided it into chapters, like this is about the light meter, this is about lighting. He said, the first thing we're going to do is make the piles. So at the end, that whole book was ready, and I was going like, cool, now we can edit. And he said, no, you have to change one thing. And he started reading something, and he said, okay, Frank, what you have to do is close your eyes and tell me your favorite student, or it can be imaginary, but tell me your favorite student. Is he female or male? And at that point, I had a female student which asked a lot. And I just liked interacting with her. Yeah. So I said, okay. So I described that female student. He says, okay, what is her level? She said, intermediate. Okay. So what's the color of her hair? And he just asked me all this stuff about that person. He said, do you see the person right in front of you at the moment? Yes. Okay, shake her hand. I said, okay. So you have a connection with that person? Yes. He said, okay. Now, write everything in the book new. He said, but you don't have to rewrite the book. Just go through it, and everywhere where it looks like the book is aimed at another student, change the wording to that one student.
Really good.
And then I said to him, like, but if I choose a beginner, wouldn't it be a beginner book? He said, no. The thing is, you have to write a book where it looks like if somebody's reading the book that you're talking to them. And it doesn't matter if it's an advanced person or an intermediate or a standard person. You write it literally for an audience of one. So immediately when you said it, I had to think back about what Scott told me. And he wrote 65 bestsellers, I believe. So the guy knows
what he's talking about. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we have some more products over here. And this one, the dreaded. Oh, Annemiek, you have a question?
Question on YouTube.
Oh, question on YouTube. There we go.
How do you balance the need to think? Or did you already have that one?
Oh, here we have another one. Raymond, haven't even seen your question on Facebook. There we go. And I did it on 3 different time slots. It's ridiculous. Okay, how do you balance the need to think about technical aspects of photography while working with a model? Okay, let me first do that. I don't even think about technical stuff anymore. I just shoot.
Because you're so experienced now that...
Yeah, but it's like when you're a photographer, it's our trade. So how do you do it?
What I always do, what I say I do is I use a lot of tricks, as I call them, and that's certain things I know that work that make an interesting photo. And so I use a lot, for example, a sort of lighting that I like, in which there's my model straight in front of me, one light straight on the face, and 2 rim lighting lights on the back. That's a recipe I know that works. So if I got a model in front of me that takes a lot of attention from me, I would set something like that up, so it doesn't take too much energy from me thinking about the lighting, and I can throw a lot of, I keep the conversation going. If the conversation goes easy and the person keeps on talking, I can use my energy a little bit more to do some more with the lighting. But I always use some standard recipes, and I'm not afraid to use it because with another model, with another background, and another gel or something, it looks different. So. And that's for me it's a way to focus on the model more. So let the technology go a bit more to the background, not thinking about it. But that means you have to practice a lot with patient people who you don't have to talk with that much, and where you can experiment a bit with lighting and stuff. And once you know something works, why not use it again?
Yeah. The best tip I always give people is buy a mannequin,
for example,
and it can be only a head. And they will sit still. As soon as a mannequin starts to move, you're really bad in conversation.
You're in big trouble.
Okay, we have another question there. I saw Martin's post, that's why I'm watching now. Maybe I can learn something from this. Okay, so let me see, there's something else here. Oh, okay. That's just somebody who says we are rocking it. So
Fine.
that's awesome.
Good to hear.
So,
what's that? Yeah.
What is this?
Can I guess what it is?
Yeah, you can guess.
No, I know what this is. Like I told
you. Of course you do.
I started out in the film days and I had to use things like this. A light meter. Even a spot meter in it, if I'm correct.
1 degree.
Yeah. I used it when I shot on film because I had to. I had to know exactly what lighting I would set with my studio lightings and stuff. I used to shoot on slide films as well, so you had to be very
really
careful.
Tricky.
Even had to use spot metering, so meter for a light part and overexposed but 2 1/3 stops, something like that. So I still know how it works, but I hardly used it in the last couple of years, or the last maybe 10 to 15 years.
You look like you like it.
I like the thing. I like the looks of it. I've still got one in my bag, and no, not in my bag.
If you want to look professional.
Exactly. You know, sometimes I say photography is also a bit of show business. So you have to look like you know what you're doing, and I hang it around my neck and I show off that I'm a professional. I've got some people don't know what it is. They start asking questions. Sometimes you don't know what to talk about with the model, and when you got something like this, they can ask what it's for. So it looks interesting. And every now and then I even really use it in my studio, for example, when I want to know for sure if I got a white background and if there's a difference between the light there and the light there, and I want to meter how much difference there is. I might use it, but I don't use it a lot. I use my LCD screen of my camera more as a light meter. But I take a test shot with my flash. I see how the light works on the screen. I see if it's overexposed, if it's blinking, and I watch that. And I hardly use a light meter for metering anymore. So,
you know, you look professional.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, I don't know if you know him, Dean Collins. He's my absolute hero. When I started out with photography, there was only one guy I watched, and that was Dean Collins. And the cool thing about Dean was he could just sit down with his feet on the table, had his little cup, and go like, okay, today we're going to explain to you. And he came up with this, just the weirdest thing ever, what he had to shoot, like a motorcycle, but the client didn't have any budget. So he showed a motorcycle. So how do we make the background move? So he just painted the background and just moved it.
Yeah.
And then had little wires on the.
Right.
So he always explained that stuff. And at one point there is this video, guys, and if you're online, find it, Brooks University, where Dean Collins was actually doing a talk and was about a light meter. And he said, so there's one thing you always have to remember as a professional photographer. Never, ever panic or let people know that you're in deep shit. He said, so one day I was doing a photo shoot in, I don't know where, but he was standing in the water. And the water, because he moved towards the boat where the model was, the water was a little bit getting higher. And he had this light meter hanging around his chest.
Yeah.
So he came closer and closer, and he didn't realize that at one point the light meter actually dipped underwater.
All right.
And he said, I must have been there for, and the story, I saw it 4 years ago. So if the story is a little bit different, sorry, but in essence, this is it. So at one point, his client just looked at him. He said, Dean, is it normal that the that thing is under the water? And he said, at that point, remember part 1, never panic, never show that you not know what you do. So he looked down and he said, oh yeah, it's taking up the temperature of the water, no problem. And he just kept shooting. So always when I think about light meters and I see this little part, I always think about that story of the light meter hitting the water. But most of all, don't tell your client you're actually in deep trouble, because he was shooting film.
Yeah.
So he probably had an extra light meter.
Yeah. It has different functions like that.
Yeah, me personally, I like to use it because it's fast. And especially when you teach workshops, I know a lot of people just figuring around with their lighting.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, like, if you go to the hospital and you're on the gurney and a surgeon comes in and he says to the nurse, where's the appendix? And the nurse just tells you, oh, just start cutting, you will find it. And that's how a photographer does with his lighting. So that's why I really love to use this stuff. And it's fast.
Yeah. You're totally right about that. This is also a way of working with what you're used to.
Oh, you can do perfect shots without it.
Absolutely. And sometimes, like I told you, I take a few test shots, but I always explain my client or my model that these shots I'm going to take is some test shots for me to check the lighting. So I'm going to aim my camera at you and shoot and see if the lighting is right. But some people already think the shoot has been started, so they start posing. So sometimes it even gives great images, but my lighting wasn't perfect yet. So in instances like that, it could be better just to do metering like this, and then the first shot you take will be exposed correctly right away.
Yeah.
So that's in certain cases that can be a better way as well. The big advantage for me of using my LCD screen is that I've got also a visual cue of how my lighting was set up. Like we talked about the
shadows or highlights.
Shadow highlights and the Polaroids we talked about earlier. I can see if I need some extra light in the background, if I need some fill light, if I need to put my light lower or higher. So it's not just the lighting that I see the total image. And I look at when I look back at my image, when I'm setting up my lights, I don't look at if it's a great image or something like that, just like to technical things like the position of the lighting, if it's too harsh, if it's in the eyes, if the model needs to turn, if I need to lighten the shadows and stuff. So that's just a technical thing. And for me, that can be done with a light meter and my LCD screen. So,
yeah, it's in the end, I always tell people it doesn't make you a better or worse photographer. It makes you a little bit faster and you have continuity. But I also did some shoots where we actually found out that somebody left my light meter on, and I don't know how it happened because normally they would shut down and we had empty batteries. So I had to do the whole shoot without a light meter, no problem at all. It just took me a little bit longer. So now,
in the old days with film, that would have been a problem. Then you would have to guess. I can still remember when it was a sunny day and didn't have a light meter. It would be 125 f11.
The sunny f16 rule.
Yeah, sunny 16 rule, something like that.
I got flamed on a forum when I started out. I think many years ago. Somebody said there's the sunny f16 rule. And I still remember that at that time I did my first workshop in Los Angeles. And I told literally on the forum, and later on I was maybe not that smart. I said, don't ever believe the sunny f16 rule, because in Los Angeles there was a sun, and that was probably not f16. And when I'm in the Netherlands, it's probably f2.8.
It's I like I told you, f11, 125, and ISO 100 worked for me in Holland on a sunny day.
Yeah,
so that's one stop brighter.
Yeah, I always describe the Netherlands as ISO 800, 2.8, 1 second of a shutter time, and you will get white images. Now, connected to the light meter, we have something else. It's my makeup box. It's this. Let me see if we can have that on. Oh yeah, we have that on camera. So of course you know what this is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you use those?
Well, something like that.
White balance cards.
I use something for white balance, and I have a small gray card, but a lot of times I just use some white piece of paper or something, because I always lose stuff like this. I need a big chain, and so if I have to, then I, for example, when we're shooting clothing and the colors have to be exact, then I use something like a gray card or a white piece of paper. Most of the time I don't use it.
As long as you keep the same thing. Like if you use a white piece of paper, a lot of people don't know this, but in paper they're wideners. So you will always have a little bit too much blue, so when you correct it's a little bit towards red. But as long as you use it the same way over and over again, you have continuity. Because this is what I want to stress to you guys. Now, Martin is a highly respected photographer, and we of course already discussed this before we did the broadcast. Now, I always use light meters and I always use color checkers. You don't, or you sometimes do. The thing is that even without those tools, you can get professional results as long as you keep one thing in mind. You have to have continuity. So if you use a white piece of paper, use it on all the shots. And that's what a lot of people don't do. They use a white piece of paper, then they do something in the backdrop, they do something in the clothing, and that's where you go wrong.
And you have to, your whole process has to be right. You have to have a calibrated monitor and stuff. Like so.
That's incredibly important.
Everything has to fit and has to work together. It's not just the one little thing.
Now, at the moment, you shoot Fuji still, right?
Yeah.
Did you play with the medium format?
Yes, I even use it. I own one, and I really love it. It's I love the quality, and especially it's not even the 50 megapixel, but what I like most is the dynamic range of the camera.
Yeah.
Like you get so much out of shadows. That's fantastic, and it gives me so much more range to work on my images and adjust the atmosphere of the image. It's not that I always want a lot of shadow detail, but I can get it out if I want to.
That's so cool that you say the atmosphere of the image. Now, I'm a big medium format shooter. I love medium format. I have to be honest, since I switched to Sony, I hardly shoot medium format anymore because it's just such a handy camera and it has the same dynamic range that you have in Fuji. It's just insane what you can get back. But the atmosphere of the shot, nothing can beat medium format. Now, when I shoot, I use a Credo 60, so that's a full frame, 6 by 4.5.
Yeah.
I believe the Fuji is crop, right? 1.3.
A little small, yeah, something
like
that.
the Hasselblad was.
Yeah.
And people, sometimes they really don't understand what we mean with character and atmosphere. What I always tell them is, if you look at the hairs of somebody, and you look at a Sony, and Sony is one of the best cameras in my opinion, or you look at Fuji, which is also great because they don't use that Bayer pattern, so they have a little bit more detail. The cool thing is that even on the Sonys and the Fujis, the hairs, they look real until you look at medium format. It's like the hairs are round.
Yeah, yeah.
It's that little bit of extra micro contrast.
Yeah.
I still don't know where it comes from.
No.
But it's just awesome. And
It
people
is,
like us with beards, we just look way better on medium format, right? We look way better.
That's why I grew one, yeah.
Yeah, just for medium format, right?
Trying, yeah.
Anywek, you have a question.
On YouTube.
Oh, on YouTube we have another question. Let me see. Question to both. Is there still money to make in photography, or do you have to really good and specialize in a certain part of photography? Let me first you.
Well, I can still make money in photography. That's a good thing. That's what I like most. I'm a really happy person because I'm doing what I love and it pays my bills. So there's still money to be made in photography. It can be. It depends on which market you're in. I'm specializing in portraits, advertising. I don't do everything. When I started out, I did everything that was photography and got paid. And now I do photography for companies. And I find that when you got a style, when people see a style they like, that makes you more desirable and stronger for a customer to
Your
be
signature.
booked. Yeah, you need to have a signature. And of course, I do commercial work, so I have to adjust my signature every now and then to a style that a client wants. But when they come to my website, they can see what kind of photos I make, so they already know what to expect that I'm shooting. So I think it's really important to have a style, and well, it's certainly possible to make money in photography, but you do have to go at it as a business. It's really important. You have to be. You have to realize you have a business. A lot of photographers are creative people, more creative than commercial, and you really do need to be a commercial person as well.
Yeah, you have to know how to run a business.
And what is most important is that you have to know how to deal with people. You have to realize you're in a service business as well. Your photography is a part of a larger thing, like a advertising campaign or a website. And you have to be able to talk to people about how they can use your photography and what their wishes are, and give good service. I really think giving good service to people really makes you more valuable to them. We also try to deliver a little bit faster or a little bit more than they expect. And
promise 10, give 20.
For example, what they call it, under promise and over deliver.
Yeah.
That's what we try.
Yeah, correct. My opinion is a little bit bleaker, I think. I think when you start with photography at this point, it's incredibly difficult because the thing is, let's say, for example, weddings. We do weddings because I teach wedding photographers too. So I want to do at least 3 weddings a year.
Yeah.
I sometimes really have problems getting 3 weddings.
That's what I heard from a lot of wedding
for the very
photographers.
simple reason, as soon as they come in, they ask me for the price, and I'm incredibly cheap. We charge, I believe, 1,250 euros, and we come with 2 shooters, and I always calculate at least 1 day of retouching because I'm pretty fast.
Too bad I'm already married.
Yeah, too bad, because that's really cheap. And even then, people walk out and they go like, yeah, but we actually had a budget of 200 euros.
Yeah. Oh.
And I always tell them like, do remember that with your photography, you have to live your whole life, and the dress is only for that 1 day, and the cake. Often they spend more on the cake than on the photographer.
Yeah.
So I think it's really hard because a lot of people do it for free or do it for their portfolio or do it because they have fun. And the problem is with nowadays the modern equipment, they are actually pretty good. So when you look at the old days with film, if you had a bad photographer, you had underexposed slides or you had slides that were blown out. Now with digital and Photoshop, it's literally so easy to do photography.
That's
basic photography.
Yeah, you're right, and that's an economic law. If people can get the same quality for free or for a little bit of money, then it's very hard to ask more for it. So I think markets like that are really difficult to get into.
Yeah.
Because are not difficult. It's easy to get into those markets because a lot of people are giving their work away for free or for a little bit of money. So a lot of people come in there, and you as a professional, you've got a lot of competition there. So it's really hard to make your money there.
Correct. And the other thing that you will find is that, for example, if we take, let's say, a normal village. Let's take Emmeloord, for example.
Normal.
Normal village. So we have, like, let me just boil it down, 5 photographers. I know technically I'm one of the better photographers. So we tried, I think 4 years ago, to get some families in, to get some baby images in, first newborns. And at that point I still was on the opinion, let's do workshops for 80% of my income and 20% let's do families. After a year of trying very, very hard, I just gave up. For the very simple reason, we even did photo shoots for free and they only had to pay for the prints.
Wow.
Almost nobody came in for the very simple reason. It's like medicine from Bayer. If you want an aspirin, it's Bayer.
Yeah.
They don't realize that there's also others. So when you live in a community like here, maybe it's different in a big city. You just know if you want to take a picture, you have to go to that guy because that's the photographer. Trying to get in there as a new one, they know that they can take a family shot. So why should you go to somebody else? And at one point and that's also what I tell to my students, make sure that you have a niche, something that's different. And I still remember a workshop, I think 2 years ago, we have 2 ladies. And the first lady, she was just, she was nice in a suit and she looks really nice. And the other one was a little bit like us, like normal clothing and just like we're normal guys, right? And the lady in the suit, she had an A location, and I don't know if that's for all the countries, but A location means you're in the center of a city or in a really good spot. And she had a photo studio and she could really photograph. And she was just going like, I think I'm going to quit and I'm going to sell my business because I'm going bankrupt. And the other lady, she said like, hey, you were in the same city as me, right? And it's a big city, right? So they didn't know each other. I said, yeah, so where are you? Oh, I'm on the industrial area. So that's like on the other part of town where you can't get easily. And she said, man, I'm doing so well. And at one point I just put them together and I said, okay, just talk about what you guys do differently. The thing was, the girl that didn't do so well, she had a photo studio. The photos in the shop window were the same. And she just invested 200 euros in a posing stool, because then people could sit down easily and were supported. The other girl said, I don't do that. Every week I go to the second-hand store and I buy something new. I take a picture for free of one of my regular customers and I put that in the shop window and I put it on Facebook. Like, hey, we have a new prop for newborns, we have a chest. If you come in now and you are already a client, you get 25% discount. If you're not a client and you come now, it's 10% discount. And she said, it's just my normal price. 10% discount means my normal price. And she said, every week I have at least 10 families coming in because they want that chest or they want that seat. And every week we buy something new. The difference was the business that went out of, in the end, I don't know if she went bankrupt, but the business that didn't went well was the business that stayed the same images in the shop window. And the other was way more dynamic. Like, do you have a Facebook page now? So why not?
It's about keep changing and bringing news to people, like relevant news for them, because there's something to be had there. There's an they get a discount, but they also get a unique picture. And it's also about connecting to people. And
it's only 1 week, because after the week the chest is gone. That's one thing that she always had.
It sounds like the one photographer was way more active than the other. I think there you got a big difference. And it's always, they say, you think of things that are top of mind. So the last time you heard about a photographer, that's the way I choose when I have my house painted and I have to think of a painter. And I met a painter at a football match, for example. Like, oh, that's the one that I'm going to ask to paint my house, because I think of him first. And in what way do you make people think of you? That can be Facebook, but also connecting to people in other ways. So you do have to stay active, active in connecting people and also in renewing your business. That's what I get out of your story as well.
And I think the coolest thing is, and we also do that with workshops, like early birds. People have to know that there's a limit to what you can do. Like we have Black Friday coming on, guys. Make sure you check out the blog. We have a lot of Black Friday stuff. And Black Friday is the same thing. You know that before Cyber Monday. What's the name on it?
Yeah.
Before Cyber Monday, you have to make that deal because it won't be back.
Yep.
And I think as what we sometimes do with workshops is we go to locations, and the locations always sell out for the very simple reason. We only do them once, except the castles. We rotate the castles, but we always find new locations. So if you go back to the same location, they go like, "Oh, we'll do it next time. Oh, we'll do it next time. Oh, we'll do it next time. Oh, my money is. Oh, we'll do it next time." But if you go like, we go to this railroad museum,
one time only.
It's one time only, and we can always do it a second time because it was such a success. But in essence, and that's, by the way, that's not. We literally do it once, and sometimes we do it 2 times because it was so successful.
Yeah.
But then after 2 times, it's done. We're never going to go there again. So I think that's one of the best tips we can give you guys.
Yep.
Let me see. Have you ever reached a point where creativity stalled or dried up, and what did you do to break out of it? Oh my.
Yeah.
I'm so incredibly lucky. No, never.
No. Yeah. Well, I did.
Really? What happened?
I think it happens a lot because for me, I've got to be in the right mood to make good photos.
Okay, that's true. Yes.
So I've got to get in a flow of shooting. For me, and you have to know what works best. Everything is personal, of course, because you have to know for yourself what works best. And I've got to take care that I'm happy, and when I'm happy and I'm in a good mood, then I take beautiful pictures. My mind has to be clear, and I have to focus on my shoot. I don't want to be bothered by emails in my phone and WhatsApps and stuff, or thinking about what I have to do tomorrow. I just want to focus on my shoot, and then as long as I can focus on my shoot, things are going to happen. And if I'm standing there and I'm blank and I don't know what to do, like I told you before, I always got these little tricks where I can start out and putting a flash gun on someone.
Points.
Yeah, and start with that. And I know that once I start working, it's gonna flow. The things are coming. So it's just about getting moving and starting with the shoot and see where things go.
I actually lied a little bit. I said no, but that's now. I know when I started workshops, and this is really a cool story. When I started workshops, I had this thing about me that it had to be correct, because I didn't want to ask people's money by delivering a product that was subpar. So what I did, literally, I had this slideshow with all the images, all the theory in there, and for 2 hours I was standing there giving a PowerPoint presentation. And if you go to 2 workshops, the same workshop twice, that first part would be different, but it would be the same. So I would tell other stories, I would do other intonations, because I don't believe in just reading it from a piece of paper. Yeah. So it would be different, but it would be the same. Now, as soon as we went to the practice part with the lighting setups, that's where everything went a little bit different. And at one point, I found out that during my normal work, when I was shooting for a client or when I was shooting for just for fun, I found that I literally always fell back to what I taught in the workshop. So, because we teach 5 workshops at that point, it was really easy. There was always something to do. But the creativity stopped a little bit easier. And at one point, I just said, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do the same thing over and over, because a lot of people were emailing me like, hey, Frank, when is workshop Advanced 1? Because I missed it, and I don't want to do Advanced 2 or 3 before. So at one point I made a business decision like, okay, if this is a real problem, like we do Basic 1, Basic 2, Advanced 1, Advanced 2, Advanced 3, and Glamour and Small Flash. So if people don't want to go to Advanced 3 because they didn't do Advanced 2, let's just skip the whole naming, just do a workshop. And at that point you have a problem, because how do you call your workshops? So I just started, you know what, we just could take a team. Small Flash, props, smoke, cosplay, glamour, working with your own sets, small spaces. And at that point something started like, okay, so now we have this fluid ball of workshops where people can just choose a subject they like, and those subjects will be repeated. The thing that I never realized was that my creativity had to be 100% every time I teach the workshop, because we start not with PowerPoint anymore. We start with the Q&A. So during the Q&A, everybody asks me whatever they want, and I incorporate that into the workshop. So recently I got a question from somebody like, hey Frank, what do you do if you only have 1 prop? And I was just going like, I don't know, just use that 1 prop. And he was going like, I would love to see you do it. So Enweek actually on a flea market bought like a room divider. And the last workshop we did, we only used that room divider, but I used it like, okay, 2 strokes behind.
What can you do it?
Yeah, use it as a projector, use it as a prop. And we actually did 5 setups where we used it in 5 totally different sets. So I was coming home and I was going like, Wow.
Well, so the less stuff you got, the more creative you have to get.
Yes, and the more you push yourself to
Yeah.
being creative, the more creative you get. As
Yeah.
long as you don't fall back to setup 1, setup 2, setup 3.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part with creativity. And the other thing is, I love music. And just look at one point, Anouk actually forbid me to look at Lady Gaga videos. Because every time I saw a Lady Gaga video, I was going, I want that, I want that, I want that. And I started with this little notebook. And at one point, it was just so filled up. I was calculating the years. I had to be 150 years before I could do all the idea. So we just quit. Okay, so another question. Question to you both. In your opinion, is shooting TFP killing the industry, both on the side of the photographers, on the side of the models who only want to shoot TFP based?
Yeah, that's it's a bit the same as what you can get for free. You don't want to pay for that. There's two sides. We also need to practice a bit. So I do shoot TFP, but not. That's as they call it, TFP.
Time for print.
Time for print. Time for CD. I call it free work, something like that. I do like to shoot a lot for myself, but it has to be good for my portfolio. So it has to be useful both for me, my model, makeup artist, if she's involved, or someone who gives me the clothing. And then I do want to shoot that. But yeah, I also need paying customers. So
we all do.
Yes, that's we got to make a living. So I only shoot that if it's important for me, for my portfolio. So if I can show something off, a new technique, or put something on social media, some new work. So that's when I do it. But I can imagine for people starting out, they have to make a portfolio, shoot TFP. And then at a point they have to start charging money for their work. And then when you're too deep in the TFP shoots, then it's really difficult to start asking money to your same clients, because they're used to getting it for free from you. So I think you have to get the TFP work separate from your commercial work.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I have exactly the same experience. A lot of models, if they email me like, hey Frank, I would love to do a photo shoot with you, and I give them our prices. And again, we are really cheap. We charge, I believe, 150 euros for a 1.5 hour session in the studio. Yeah. That's not a lot, but I like to do it. And then you often got an email back like, hey, but I'm a model.
Yeah.
And then I email back like, okay, what does your dad do? Yeah, he's a plumber. I said, okay, I will make you a deal. He will give me an outside faucet, and I will shoot you for free. And she will go like, no, my dad is a plumber by trade, so that means you have to pay. I said, but I'm a photographer by trade, so you have to pay. The thing is with TFPs, and this is the part that's, and I'm looking at you guys there, you see me, you get off the couch, think about this. What does TFP mean? Time for print. Do you know the weird part? Think about it. Time for print. It's always based from the perspective of the model. Yeah. She gives you time, we give her prints.
Amen.
And what did you say, Anouk?
Somebody said amen.
Okay, amen.
Amen.
The thing is, when you look at portfolio shoots, for example, for model days, it's always the photographer that pays. And the models are for free, and the makeup artists are paid a little bit. If you look at shooting days or model gatherings, models are often for free, photographers have to pay. We make the biggest investments not only in gear, but also as soon as the model leaves the studio, she's free. And then she starts begging you for your images the same night. We as photographers, we have to, one, make backups, which takes hard drives. We have to retouch all the images. Then if the model says, hey, can you do this one in black and white? We still have to retouch that image. It isn't fair.
No, there's a certain point that a photographer has to say no to TFP then.
Yes.
Because your time is limited, and at a certain point you're just working for free. That's not TFP anymore. There's no.
That's slavery.
Modern slavery. Yeah. But it's but the whole point of TFP is it's of use for everyone. And when you're working like that, it's not of use for everyone anymore.
No. So make that the decision very clearly. Like, don't do everything for TFP, but only do the stuff that can really grow. And at that point, I think when you start out as a photographer, it doesn't destroy the market, because at that point you can't really shoot yet. You don't have that commercial look.
You have to start somewhere.
So you're a hobbyist. Now, as soon as you start getting a level, and what I always did is I call it multi-level photography marketing.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So let's say I want to be a rock star photographer. So I want to be a photographer that does rock stars. What I do is I take a local band. I shoot the local band for free. I mess up. So I take the second local band. I shoot it for free. And now we're getting somewhere. They really like the images. And another local band calls me. Can you shoot me? I say, yeah, okay, that costs money.
Yeah.
Now, if a band calls me that actually spans our whole area, like a regional band, I will do the regional band for free.
All the local,
yes, one step up. When I like the regional bands, I do the national band for free.
Yeah.
And at one point you grow, and then at one point you just start to look like, okay, what do I really like? Like, for example, we're both at the level that we don't have to do TFP anymore. But if Brian May gives me an email like, Frank, can you fly to America and shoot me? I'm there, and I do it for free. I would even pay for it, to be honest. But that's something where you go like, you have to pick your
You have to invest, like we said before, invest in the work you want to do and show that you can do that and work from that.
Yeah, and make sure that your portfolio online, because in the second part we're going to actually do a portfolio review of the both of us. And what you do is make sure that your portfolio looks great, because if you only shoot families, sometimes it's better to just hire a family. If you have a family that looks really nice, where you go like, okay, this is really cool, just hire that family or shoot them for free.
And your clients want to look like them.
Yes, so, and they have to, because if you just put the tokkies, and now for people who are not from the Netherlands, the tokkies are like the flodders, and if you're still not from the Netherlands,
just
Google
them.
A very asocial family with tattoos, and not that you're antisocial when you have tattoos, but you know what I mean. They look like really, really bad people. So if you want to shoot something like that, don't put it in your shopping window. Make sure that there's a little bit like a model family.
Yeah.
The model family.
Of course, yeah.
Let me see if we have any other questions. Amen, Frank. Yeah, thank you so very much. Okay, the other thing that I have in front of me, and I love this one. It's a flash bender. Martin, do you know these?
Yeah, I know this one. Yeah, it even has your name on it.
Yeah, it has.
It's a signature. Yeah.
Yes, the signature version.
That's one thing I use a lot. I've got, at the moment I got 4 of them, so I use them a lot because it's you use it on your flash. I guess we have to explain what it's for.
Yeah, explain what it's for.
You put it on a flash gun, and your flash gun goes here, like here, and it bounces against this part. You can bend it a little bit so it makes the light a little bit softer than coming straight from your flash gun. And I really like working with harsh light, but the small flashes I use a lot were a bit too harsh. So I've got a smaller version of this and this large one, and that makes the light a bit less harsh, but still not too soft.
The simple rule: bigger light source equals less harsh light.
Yeah, softer light. You can do more with it. You can roll it up and make it stick to your camera, for example, and make it like into a sort of a snoot, just to light just a face or a background or something like that. So I really like these things. I'll use this as a flag to prevent a light from falling into your lens. And the good thing about this is all foldable and bendable, and it fits into your bag real easy. So yeah, I use that a lot. I'm a big fan of those.
Yeah, me too. That's why my name is on it.
Yeah.
The cool thing is they had this white one, and I always found out that I loved the silver inlay.
Yeah.
But I always lost my silver inlay, or I forgot about it,
so
or I put it on the other side. So I just said,
stitched in.
Yeah, just make one that is silver.
Yeah.
And at one point I just gave it my signature, because we had so many conversation about how it should look. And I'm so happy with the end result. And it's even more flexible than a normal flash bender, I believe.
Yeah. And so bigger, yeah.
So I really, really like this. So guys, make sure you check this one out, because Martin actually endorses it. And it has my name.
Absolutely.
So that's cool. Okay, so when you look at your whole career, is there anything where you go like, that's the biggest mistake I ever made, never ever do that?
Biggest mistake? Well, I made a lot of mistakes, but they're all, I learned from everything, and a lot of mistakes had to do with buying gear that I didn't use that much, like big scanners and stuff, or lenses. I'm really with gear. I do like gear that I use, so I don't collect them. When I don't use anything anymore, I sell it. But that's, I think that's a couple of mistakes. Of course, I make a lot of mistakes. I still smaller mistakes like driving away without taking my memory cards or stuff like that.
Leaving your camera on top of the car.
For something like that, throwing stuff over, every mistake you can make, I make them still. But I know how to solve it right away, so you get more experience and I get more relaxed about making mistakes. It happens. When you work, you make mistakes. So
I remember that somebody asked me this question many years ago, like, what mistake? And at first I said, okay, the mistake is at one point I decided to make my workshops accessible for everybody. So I kept the pricing really low. Like a workshop with us, it's 149 euros, including VAT, and we only have 5 or 6 people in a group. That's of course ridiculous for the level that I'm teaching at, but we still do it. The instructional videos, we charge 35 to 45 euros, which is ridiculous because you see stuff online for 200, which I know is less quality. But then I start to think back and I go like, what if from the start on I raised my prices? Where would I be now?
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't know, but...
Yeah, you wouldn't know. So I think every mistake is paving the road to where you go.
Absolutely.
You have to go a little bit to the left. And because you go a little bit to the left, you see that little bird sitting there. And you photograph that bird, which you normally would never see. And that bird ends up in a magazine. And that magazine gets read by... And there we go. And it's like the butterfly.
Yeah. Yeah,
how do you call it? The butterfly in
effect,
Africa?
Yeah,
the butterfly effect.
His wings, yeah. Absolutely. And well, maybe one, if you call it a mistake, I would have, like I told you earlier, I shot everything that was photography and paid. But maybe I should have specialized, or still should specialize right now, on just shooting one thing in one style, trying to be more of...
But then you miss all the experience from the other part. So what happens when something goes wrong?
Yeah. Well, I'm not too afraid to that things go wrong. Like when I started out, for example, in photography, I just started out on my own. I started my own business. I didn't even think about that it could go wrong, that I couldn't make a living doing photography. Later on, and it worked out right, but I thought, well, it's a good thing I didn't even think about what shall I do when it goes wrong. I didn't even think about that. So I'm not too afraid of that there are no customers coming in anymore. So maybe I can take some more risk.
I think the thing also, what people have to realize, like, I don't know how it's for you, but I'm always very open with this. We don't earn a lot of money. We, how do you call it? They always say you write black numbers, so that means that you make a profit.
Make a profit, yeah.
And then when I look back, I go like, if I would have been working at a bank and Anouk would have a normal job at, let's say, a store or also a bank, we would have made at least 4 times the amount of money I make now.
Yeah.
But always when I talk to my accountant, she always says like, you are the most unique company I have in my portfolio. You always have fun. You travel the whole world.
Yep.
You have a great living, and at the end of the year you also make a small profit. So what more do you want?
What else do you want? That's what I always say as well. I can make a living out of it. I can go to parties. I can go I go to travel on holidays a couple of times a year. I really love my job. It's not making me rich, but I do have a rich life. So
yeah, but
what else do I need?
We never saw how do you call that? A mourning car? No, when you die, the funeral car. Yeah. We never saw a funeral car with behind it like a little big money trailer or whatever.
No, it's not going to happen on mine anyway.
No, not mine too. No. So guys, remember, if you want to be a rock star photographer, don't be a rock star photographer because it will not work. But if you want to have fun and you love what you do and you want to make a living, a normal living, it can be very easily done.
Absolutely.
Okay, for now, it's we're almost an hour in, and that went actually better than we thought. I'm going to show you a little bit in between, a little bit of a commercial, guys, and then we are back with the portfolio, and of course more questions from you guys. And the first thing, Martin, is actually about something really cool.
All right.
Do you always use strobes?
Not always.
Not always. A lot.
Nicht immer, aber immer öfter, as they say.
Jawohl. Yeah. How many languages do you speak?
Dutch, German.
Dutch and German. I speak
and
Dutch, English, and a little bit of German. And French only, je ne parle pas français.
Moi non aussi.
No, mama. Okay, we're going to show you a clip now from a video I did called Any Light Will Do.
All right.
And the cool thing about Any Light is you don't need strobes, you can even use a flashlight. Right. So we made an instructional video for that. I'm going to show you the trailer now, so we can actually set up for the next part. In this tutorial, we're actually going to show you that you can make great images with very, very simple tools. What to think about a tungsten light bulb. the LED panel, a ring light, your standard flashlight, the Fresnel, the Westcott ice light, smartphones, the Loom Cube, the chandelier, Christmas lights, we call them light snakes over here. This is one of the most creative lighting videos I ever created. I'm very enthusiastic about it. It's available now via our website. See the links.
All the way.
Hey guys, my name is Frank Dorhoff and I'm the author of the book Mastering the Model Shoot. Now, you guys really like the book because we're getting a lot of rave reviews on Amazon and every other online store. So that actually triggered us to make a video series about the book. Now, in the first video, I will tell you everything about the light meter. Now, in digital photography, I think the light meter is the one thing that confuses people a lot. Shouldn't I use the histogram, Frank? Isn't there a meter inside the camera? Where do I point the meter? Towards the pretty girl? Towards the camera? Towards the light source? Where? There's a lot of confusion out there. Now in this video I will give you in more than 70 minutes all the insights out about the light meter. Calibrating, using incident and reflective, using a white background, how to keep details in the black, how to trigger the meter, where to point the meter. You will see everything very easily explained, but you will also see photo shoots including our model Manon. This is one of the videos if you're slightly interested in the light meter, or if you already have a light meter and you want to know everything about it, get this video. It's called Mastering the Model Shoot, the light meter, and it's the first video in a whole series that we're going to release in connection to our book Mastering the Model Shoot, and it's available now from our website. And we're back with Martin Hogeboom. How are you?
Still good.
Still good?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Hey, I asked you to send me 10 of your images. You sent me 3,000, so I actually...
that's what I do.
I had to select it really fast. And I also have 10 images of mine. And I'm gonna start with my images because I'm gonna end with an image that actually connects to your image.
Great.
Okay, guys, now what are we gonna do? I really don't like shows where we are gonna to tear each other apart. And in all honesty, and Martin said it before we actually started this whole broadcast, we're both professional photographers. We know what we're doing, or at least we hope we know what we're doing. So responses like maybe crop this a little bit more is okay, great, but there's a reason why we cropped it this way. So if you're watching this and you go like, I would have done it differently, great, because when Martin looks at one of my shots and I look at one of his shots, I know 100% sure that I would have cropped it differently, or I would have placed the light differently. It's not about that, so it's not a portfolio review. What I want to do is talk about inspiration, how we get those shots, what went through my mind when I took the shot, and of course the same thing for Martin. So let me go for my desktop picture-in-picture, and we're going to switch over to Lightroom. Okay, so this is my first shot. And now one of the things that I love to do is talk to local people. And the thing was, we were in Los Angeles around Halloween. And I said, I really want to make some awesome images. I want to create something that has a little bit of humor. And they said, you have to go to West Los Angeles. It's the gay district, I believe. And it's just awesome. Everybody walks around. And I saw this is not staged, and the thing that I love about it is you have the thieves outside and the police inside.
Yeah.
So what is the first thing what comes to your mind when you see something like this?
Yeah, I love it. First, I had to look better because I saw people outside. I think they're going to have a great party. They noticed you, and then I looked better and thought, wow, there's cops inside. It's really funny. Yeah.
I think that's a cool thing. If you look at the picture two times,
it makes you feel really lucky when you.
Yeah, it's
when I shoot a shot like that, I look at it and I keep on smiling. I want to show it to someone. Yeah.
That's the thing. You want to run to somebody and go, look what I shot. And the cool thing is, you say it's a lucky shot. It is. On the other hand, it is because it's the situation.
Yeah.
But you can force luck, by asking the local people, by going like, hey, where do I have to go?
Yeah.
You're actually prepared. The only thing is, it has to happen. And that's luck.
You're hunting for an image, and then you have to be prepared for luck as well.
You have to be there.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that I do want to stress. And let me switch over to this so people can actually see us again. Okay, so we're talking about the lucky shot or the shot. Now, you know Jay Micel?
Yes.
Okay, so I was in New York with Jay, and Jay actually told me something that really, really just stuck with me. He said, if you want to be a great street photographer, and you go out and you go looking for a blonde girl with yellow boots and a red coat and a small dog and an umbrella, what is the chance that you're going to find it? That you're going to come back with a shot? It's 0. In New York, probably there is a chance, but there's 0. Now, if you just go out for looking for a girl in a red coat with an umbrella and a dog, your chances go up. What if you go out and you just go for a girl with a dog? Your chances fly up. This is what goes if you just go out and find something that's interesting. And then he gave me the second tip, and that was my biggest problem for street photography. Find the stage and the players will come. That's actually Robert Desaneaux. I was always hunting. I was always walking. And the thing is, when you walk, you can't take a great picture. So he just, and this is what I did with this image. And you guys can see it. We have a big monitor up there. I knew where it's going to happen. Find the stage.
Yeah.
And the only thing I had to do is be there, just look around and shoot it.
Yeah.
So that's the tip he gave me. Okay, let's go to the second image. And we only have 10 guys, so it's going pretty fast. Okay, what's your opinion on this?
Great lighting. That's the thing I think first. I really love lighting like this, like dramatic lighting, and that's how I like to compose my image as well. Like I look at the eye straight away, so that's where my focus goes. And I think knowing you, it's probably a setup with a light outside. But that's a technical thing.
You think it's a light outside?
I think
that's
so,
interesting.
Yeah, but it doesn't really matter because but that's what I would have guessed.
Would you believe this is a studio shot?
And is this the window of your studio or
no?
Okay, then it's great. That's great because it really looks believable that there's some bushes outside and it's black and white. I can't see if it's really green, but it looks like an old wall and some outside. So really, yeah, you staged it.
Yeah, we staged it. This is shot during the workshop called Create Your Own Set.
Yeah.
And we have these movable walls with wallpaper. And we actually went to an old junkyard where we got an old window.
Yeah.
Really dirty glass. And at one point, one of my interns cleaned the glass. I could kill her. I said, first make the glass dirty again. And what we did is we just sprayed a little bit of water on the glass and put a strobe on a very far distance from the glass because otherwise you can't get that really nice lines. A lot of people think that if you place your light close to it, you get those lines, but you have to make the distance because it's the edge transfer. The further away the light, of course, the more you have those lights and those lines. And what I have in the back is actually a light that we got also on a flea market. And we put the strobe on the lowest possible setting and then just use the shutter speed to let in the ambient light and then made it black and white.
Yeah.
So it's totally staged.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, does it matter?
No, it doesn't matter.
It has a great atmosphere.
It looks great, right?
Yeah, great.
Okay, next shot. Literally shot.
Shot. So, wow. That's, how do you say heftig in English?
Heavy.
Yeah, heavy shot, yeah. Dramatic reportage shot, totally different than the other one. I'm curious about the story behind this one.
The story behind this one is that I actually messed up the shot completely. We were driving through LA And one of the things that the guy told me, like, hey, do you like shooting homeless people? And I just said no. I'm somehow, I don't know how you are, I'm against shooting homeless people. One, it's too easy, and I think it's taking advantage of people.
Yeah, I did take some shots of homeless people, but I always liked talking to them first, and getting to know their story. And like, I've got one shot, I'm not sure if I put it in the portfolio I sent to you, but there's one guy I shot in Amsterdam, and I talked to him for about an hour or something, and then I took a photo of him. But I know his complete story, that he came from Canada and just came to Holland just for the hash, and he was talking about traveling, and that the travel was the most important, not the destination, and it was great talking to this guy. And then but I think it's too easy just to shoot homeless people for the effect.
It already looks the effect, yes.
Yes. Yeah.
What happened here was he actually took us to Tent City, which is the homeless part of LA.
Yeah.
And I did want to see it because he said there are like thousands of people on the streets, and I couldn't imagine it. And as soon as you see it, I just couldn't stomach to take pictures. I did take some pictures, but it was too much. It was just my brain just totally short-wired. And this guy was actually laying on the floor, and he's not shot.
No.
He's just totally drunk. I shot it through the window of the car, and
not
the
blood.
car moved. No, it's not blood. It's actually
water. I don't
water.
want to know what it is. Okay.
It's actually water.
Okay.
And I shot it through the window of the car, and it was totally blurred. And this is the image. This is why I included this. Everybody that knows my seminars or workshops, I always tell people one simple joke, and it's actually not a joke. If you really mess up a shot, but the story is there, make it black and white, add a lot of contrast and noise, and you have instant art.
Absolutely.
This is the shot that started it, because I loved the shot, but it was blurred.
Yeah.
And not a little bit. It's like totally out of focus.
Yeah.
And just by creating it black and white, it just gives, somehow when it's black and white, people accept that something is a little bit out of focus.
It's more authentic.
It's more authentic, yes.
Absolutely.
So that's this story.
Great.
Okay, I just love that shot. Next one.
For something completely different.
It's something completely different.
Yeah, as Monty Python would say. It's a real classic lighting shot, like something that 20s feeling. Yeah, also the styling, of course. This is one of the things I love to do as well, like playing with lights and shaping my subject. So I really like the way how you because I think that's really difficult to do. You have her body is really in shadow. It only has some rim lighting, and the face has been lit with a small spot probably. It's really exactly really difficult to light that out exactly, isn't it?
I think it's pretty. It's not difficult, but it's very tricky. What we used actually, this is shot during a classical lighting workshop.
Yeah.
What I use is flags, and a lot of people don't use flags anymore. Do you have flags in your studio?
Well, when I use flags, I use
those. So you use flags, but a lot of people don't realize that flags are the most powerful thing, because you have edge transfer. So let me just change back to this. Anyway, can you get a flag so I can show it to people? So what you have edge transfer. So if you have a flag that's like, this is your stroke, this is your model, and the flag is here, it will only make the light dimmer, because it will make it just short out. It's too close. Now if this is the model, this is the light, and you have the flag over here, you will have a very distinct line. And this is one of those flags. So this is what we use. And this is actually an Avenger. I believe they're from Manfrotto. Or I believe it's Manfrotto, and we use these to actually control them, and you can put them in every single position you want. And the cool thing about flags is, if you start experimenting with from that very distinct line to that only making it dimmer, and you place it in between, you can really just make lighting setups that you normally can't do. Because if you use a snoot, it's like a round stuff on the face. You don't want that. You want like a line of light, like the hardcore George Orwell. So what we do is we move those flags away, and we always do it behind the closed doors of our workshop. So we have the classical lighting workshops, and actually in the video you see that one flag is here and one flag is here, because this one I wanted, it's the other way. This one I wanted to feather out over the body, and the other one I want really sharp on her face. Yeah. So that's where we use flags. And the cool thing about this one is, and it's not to brag, but a friend of mine, he saw a documentary in hardcore. And they said, they use 20 lights, and it's like one shot is like 10,000 euros, 1,500 euros, 10,000, of course not, but 1,500 euros. And it went like, so they use 20 lights, and I just looked at the image and go, I really like those images, but 20 lights.
You can do it with 3.
We did it with 4.
4. Very good.
So
Yeah,
accent lights, and when you use strip lights, and this is also the thing, when you use strip light, guys, just listen to me, it's a very simple trick. Let's see that this is a strip light. Most people use a strip light like this. And they don't realize you can also use it like this, or you can use it like this, or light more on the model, less there, or more on the face, less on the body, more on the body, less on the face. It's all about distance and inverse square law. And all the theory put together, you can just get something like this with 4 or 5 lights. Now, this is a color version. I'm going to show you this one. Which one do you like more?
That's great too. But there's a softness, extra softness in it.
Yeah, faked a little bit the light fall off. Sorry, the focus fall off on the bottom. Normally I don't do it, but in this case, yes. I think it fits.
I think this one has more impact for me. Probably because the eyes are bigger in the image. So, and I really like black and white portraits, because a lot of time in a portrait, the skin color, not in this case, but because she's got a real good skin, good skin color, but most of the time the structure and the color of the skin, it takes away the attention of the portrait. So black and white makes, for me, is more powerful. I just look at the shapes and the emotion, and so I think I like this one better. But it's about the same lighting. You also
it's exactly the same set.
Yeah,
it's exactly the same set, but here we flecked it a little bit more, as you can see on the mouth.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
you can do this with a snooter, so that's.
You can do it with the snoot without any doubt.
Yeah, but it's more difficult to make that light fall off. You really need the flags for that.
Yeah,
great. So any light will do, huh? That's what you said.
This was all shot with cell phones.
Ah, great.
Even the main light is a cell phone.
That's a great thing with the cameras nowadays. The chips can go up to 1600 ISO or higher even, and still get a decent quality. And then when you got a 1.4 lens, you can practically shoot with every light. So this is great. Yeah.
You know how I started this? This is so cool. I was teaching at Photoshop World, and as I told you before, I never prepare anything, and it's the worst advice I can give people. Always prepare stuff, for the very simple reason you have to be. I will lower the volume just a little bit. There we go. Okay, always prepare, guys. So don't do the stuff that I do. And I went on stage, and there was one thing that I knew. I want to do this, I want to do this, and I want to do that. But I didn't plan for a full hour. And at one point, you always have interaction with the crowd. And in this case, the interaction was there, but it was a little bit less than expected. Because obviously, I explained it right. So I had like 15 minutes left. And I just looked at my watch and going like, okay, Photoshop World, it's a really big stage. I can't do 15 minutes less. So I just started like, okay. And this is how the whole Any Light Will Do started. I said, okay, so what if you don't have any strobes? And I just picked up a flashlight, like a stage flashlight, the big ones. And I just aimed it at my model, took a shot. I said, okay, so this is one. And people were going like, wow, you can do it with a flashlight. And I said, and then I looked at my watch and I still had 14 minutes left. So I was going like, how the heck do I do 14 minutes with this stuff? So I can move around, but that's not interesting. And at that point, I just started realizing like, everybody has a flashlight. It's in their phones. So I said, you know what? Which one of you guys want to participate? Now, imagine Photoshop World, you have anywhere between 400 and 2,000 people in a room, so there's always somebody that wants. And we just started, it's not this shot by the way, but we just started building it the same way that you see here. Okay, we need an accent light. Okay, come on stage. And I was looking at my watch, 13 minutes left. Okay, another one, 12 minutes left, another one, 11 minutes left, another one. And we just started building it, and at one point we had this beautiful setup with our model. The problem is you have to light it close. So the strobes, or in this case the lights, will be in the frame. So I just lay down on the floor, looked at my watch, 2 minutes left. Oh my, I have to do it in 2 minutes. And I just took the image, shooting straight up with my model and all those lights on top. And it just looks so awesome. And then I looked, oh my time is up. And I didn't check the image. And I was in my hotel room, I was going like, this is the freaking best image I ever took. I looked at it totally out of focus and blurred. So that's when we actually started doing it like, okay, we're going to do it again. And this was shot during a workshop we called alternative lighting, where we literally just use cell phones and flashlights and whatever. And it's just so easy to do. Okay. Let me switch over to my desktop.
Wow.
So if you need a head, you know where to find them.
Yeah, you've got a couple. Great. I love the dramatic lighting on this one. It's I think that that's what catches my eye first. I'm really lighting is really a thing that strikes me always in a good photo.
It's our language.
Yeah, that's what we write with. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
The thing with this is we have movable walls in our studio.
Yeah.
And normally we connect them together like this. So we make like a wedge, and you have a little bit of a room inspired by David LaChapelle, who always shoots in rooms, and I don't have the budget of David LaChapelle.
Yeah.
So I was just like, you know, I have two walls that I can move together, and it works. And what I did here is I actually didn't connect them as a wedge. I left an opening and just put a strobe behind it and put some smoke in. The cool thing is Nadine, of course, is super creative, and she took a lot of heads. Now, what you can do is you don't have to invest, and I'm looking at you guys over there at the camera, you don't have to invest in expensive props or clothing or whatever. Of course, it's great if you have it, but just ask your model to ask around like, hey, do you have some heads, or do you have something else that you want to shoot? And just bring everything together, shoot it, and then you can, of course, not use it again and return it. Because if you buy it, the problem is you're going to use it all the time. And people go like, oh, there's that chair again. And it's the same trick the same problem that I have, because we have certain chairs in our studio. We use them all the time. People go like, hey, I know that chair. So you have to be creative with using that chair all the time. So that's how this image created.
Wow, that's an abstract one. Like something from outer space that fell into your studio. Oh, no, there's a model in it. Great. But I think the idea is about the same as with the other one. You put together a lot of props, but you made a really interesting composition out of this one. It really reminds me of a spaceship in the first. But when I start looking better, I see its backs and stuff. It's sort of an abstract image, and that's what I like about it. I don't even want to know what it is.
Paper bags.
Paper bags, okay. Yeah.
And again, Nadine, being incredibly creative, she asked one of my A Year with Frank students, so Cindy in this case, if she can bring paper bags.
Yeah.
She brought it. So we have welder's glasses on her face. We have gas masks we bought on second-hand stores. And we use 2 let-go panels actually to light it, so it's not even strobes.
Yeah.
And I add smoke, and I really love the old-fashioned sci-fi films, like Robinson Crusoe Goes to Mars from 1956. And I love Universal Monsters, going back all the way to Dracula 1934, 40, whatever. And Frankenstein. Normally I know the dates by heart, but hey, sorry. So those all-time favorites of sci-fi. And the thing was, I missed something. And we have actually some stuff that a friend of us gave us who owns a toy store. And it's actually what you see over there, which runs from vertically. Yeah. Those are actually, I don't know the English term, spans, which you normally use to hang lights from on the ceiling.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
So I have 3 in the studio, and we just use it, and it ends very abruptly, but somehow it draws your eyes in, and it just made that small difference. If we take it out,
you would see it was a person more.
It's more like a black, and this is something that I always tell during workshops. Sometimes it's like this really tiny detail that you put somewhere in the corner that just makes the image works, because otherwise you go like, I don't know.
Something misses.
Something misses.
Yeah.
Okay, next shot. And by the way, Martin didn't see these images
this is
before.
The first time I see them.
Yeah.
So every time I think, wow, but I don't.
I also didn't look at your images, so.
Great shot, a great atmosphere. Like it reminds me a little bit of that Czech photographer. What was his name? He used to shoot photos in his basements, like of all his models. Like it's really the surroundings are a bit the same. And I like the color. There's one color in it. That's what I really love. Really curious about how you made it. Was there really a smoke machine in this one? No, I guess.
No. This was shot during the workshop in New Jersey this year. And Nadine was with us, and she did the styling, and styling is of course absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
And I saw the elevator the year before, and we didn't have time to shoot in it, so I really went down back to that studio. It's Nieuw van Nieuwkerk studio, and I wanted to shoot in the elevator. The problem was I wanted to use like a red light from the back. And I could have done it by placing it all the way on the corner, but then I would limit myself that I could only shoot it like this angle, and I didn't want to shoot it that angle. I wanted to shoot that angle so I could also see the wire going.
You didn't want it in your picture.
And I didn't want it in the picture, but I still wanted it red hue. So what I did is, the first thing is, you said, was there a smoke machine? No. What I do is I never clean my lenses. So there's always dust on the lenses, and I do that on purpose because when you normally shoot, you don't see the dust. But as soon as you reflect back, those dust particles will start to show up, so you get this beautiful effect.
Yes, so there's a good reason for not cleaning your lenses.
There's a really good reason for not cleaning your lenses. And the red hue, believe it or not, is actually a strobe with a red gel. The only thing is it's not aimed at the model, but I was sitting, let me go to full screen so people can actually see it. So let's say that this is my camera. So I was sitting there, and the red strobe was actually aimed straight at my lens.
All right. So it's a flare in your lens.
It's the lens flare, and that made it red.
All right.
So if you want the lens flare on top,
the little circles to the right are also.
That's the dust.
That's the dust. Okay.
And because you aim it that way, the dust particles will actually show up.
Yeah.
And you can do it whatever you want. So I place it here a little bit like this. You can also place it from the top, and then the top part is red. Yeah. So it's a really cool way of not using Photoshop and creating something
that's a nice experiment.
It's a very cool experiment indeed, and I really like the outcome. Let me see, why is Lightroom now gone? Ah, there we go. Okay, final image for me. And then it's up to you, and this one has a connection with you.
I guess so, yeah, I know that spot.
Oh,
Route 66.
Full screen. One more. Yep, Route 66.
Route 66, as they say, yeah. And the Santa Fe Railroad on the side.
Which goes on forever and ever.
Yeah.
And never stops.
1 mile long trains, yeah. We once stayed at a hotel, and they had a little sign, proud to be on the Santa Fe Railroad. But we didn't notice that until later in the night, when the train passed by every half hour or so. So it kept us awake all night. But they made it, turned it around and said they were proud to be on the Santa Fe Railroad. Yeah, I've been to the USA a couple of times, and even one time I rode all off Route 66 from Chicago to LA. So
I followed that on your social media.
Yeah, great experience. And like we said before, I really like the country, like traveling around, and I guess must have seen this sign as well.
Yeah, they're everywhere on the road. Now, the thing that a lot of people don't know, I know Martin, of course, for a long time. And the thing that really triggered me to reinvest you was actually when you started doing the Route 66. And every time you had this person you shot or this location you shot and a little story. Yeah. I ate them up. Literally every morning I looked at your stream. I want to see it. I didn't even want to wait for it. I wanted to see it as soon as it was released. And that's so smart, because before that I of course followed your work, and I was like a respected fellow photographer. Yeah. And I totally fell in love with it when you started doing that stuff. So sharing and giving back, awesome. Absolutely, yeah. Now the story behind this one is actually pretty cool. I always tell people, when you start out with your trip, your wife still loves you. So when you're on the floor, you can take pictures. If it's the end of the trip, your wife will probably not tell you there's a truck coming, because every time I see something, I have to stop and take a picture. Stop and take a picture. Now this one was really cool. We always saw those. Signs. So I want to take a picture, but I wanted to take a picture when the sun was going down. And at one point, the pictures didn't appear anymore, so I didn't see any Route 66. And normally they're like every 5 minutes. Yeah. And at one point we saw one, and the sun was perfectly. And I stopped the car, parked, got out, took the image. I came back, and Anouk looked at my face. She was going like, "Are you happy with the shot?" I said, "Yeah, I'm happy." She said, "Could it be better?" I said, "Yeah, if there was a train coming by." Started the car. And we saw the train coming. I was running out of the car, taking the picture with the train. So I got back, big smile. She said, "Could it be better?" I said, if there's a car coming with the headlights on. But at that point, Route 66 is empty. Yeah. And all the way in the back, we saw a car coming out. I ran out of the car, took this shot. I sat down, and Anouk said, "Don't say it, because the next time I'm going to say if there's a UFO in the screen, so don't." And we just drove off. Cool. So it's a shot that actually started with 3 shots. One without the train, one with the train, and later on with the car. Yeah. And it's that matter of just staying somewhere. Yeah. No, don't just shoot it, but stay. And often we don't have that choice, because we want to do so much. But sometimes it just pays to stay and just have everything in, like here. It's everything that makes Route 66 for me so nice. The old rusty roads, the train which goes on forever, and then one car, because there's nothing else.
Yeah, and if you have the chance to stay and wait, that's great. Not always when you travel you have the chance just to stay and wait for the perfect light or wait for the perfect moment.
Somehow.
Hardly ever, especially if you're traveling in a group. So you have to make the best of what happens in front of you.
Correct. Let me see. We have some we have some questions coming in from Jan. Making pictures with all light sources now clearly depends on the quality of one's photo equipment. It can be shown that there's no doubt about that. Yes and no. He says if you want to do that, any light will do. It's really important to have a good camera. Yeah, you have to have a light sensitive camera, but it can also be your smartphone. Any camera nowadays can shoot up to ISO 1600 without any problems.
Absolutely. I told you before, I use LED lighting as well every now and then. And a couple of weeks ago I made a setup for shooting a model with LED light, and just for testing the shot we took some selfies with our iPhones. And I got a portrait of myself now shot with an iPhone in the portrait mode, with LED lighting, 3 or 4 lights on it, and it really looks superb. Like even with the out of focus background, shot with an iPhone, but there's a lot of light on it. So as long as there's enough light and the quality of the light is good, a lot of cameras will do.
And there's one thing I really want to stress to you guys: it's not about quality of the image. As soon as you start seeing that the quality of the image is not good, the image is not strong enough. Look at all those iconic shots like the Napalm Girl. That's not in focus.
No.
Look at Robert Desaunau's work. Half of it isn't in focus, but it just grabs you and it shows you something that's cool.
Yeah, it's about the emotion.
It's
more emotion than technique.
Yeah, so if there's a little bit of noise, there's a little bit of noise. So what?
Yeah.
As long as the image, as soon as you start worrying about the noise, scrap the image because the image isn't strong enough.
Yeah. If that becomes the problem, then there's something else wrong with it. Yeah.
Okay, we have more questions. Very interesting. That's cool. Why did I not know about this talk? Well, it's recorded, so you can see it back. Greetings to Martin from Café Obscura.
Oh, nice. Bye,
Cool.
Michel.
Our friends. Let me switch back to the desktop, and then we go to Martin's images. That's gonna be awesome. I love his images. First image. It's how I look after a day in the field.
Yeah. This is from my. We do a workshop in Spain next year again, and it's called Outdoor Photography Experience. So we do outdoor activities and we do shooting. It's for about 4 days, and then we take a little group and there's an activity every day and we do some shooting. And one of the activities, this one was from last year, was shooting a rugby match. And I like shooting action, but I like shooting portraits more. So I also shoot. I teach, but I also shoot during the workshop. And but I liked the players to shoot the players straight after the game. So after the game, they just
sweaty, muddy,
very muddy, and hardly having any time because they wanted to go straight to the dressing room to drink some beers. But we picked out a few.
First shower, I hope.
I don't know. I don't want to know.
First beer, then shower.
I think first beer. They're rugby players. I think they'll have beer first. And I decided I want to take some shots of the players just coming off the field, but I did want to have some good lighting. So actually, I shot this one with a flash bender, and it's only one flash. I used a camera with a telephoto lens, like the Fuji. I've got a 56mm at 1.2, 1.4, something like that. And I used high-speed flash, so I could use a flash in normal lighting. And this is shot really quickly because the players were coming off the field, so we had to stop them. Can you stand here for a while? And someone held the flash for me, just pointed at their head.
ETTL?
I think manual, because manual. I really like, because I shoot into the light and I really want to be sure that the lighting is good. So most of the time I shoot manual when I use flash. My camera's on manual and the flash as well, because the distance between flash and model stays the same, so I'm pretty sure about the lighting. Let's
talk a little bit about that ETTL. First, high-speed sync. For people that don't know it, high-speed sync actually pulsates the strobe on, I believe, 50 Hertz. So it makes it possible to shoot on a very, very high shutter speed. You also have high sync of hypersync or I believe it's high sync and hypersync,
Yeah.
where you actually use very, very slow strobes, and they act a little bit like continuous lighting, so you can also break that barrier of 125th. But the cool thing about ETTL, now I'm not a big fan of ETTL. Now when you talk to a lot of photographers, they go like, ETTL is like the new great thing that you have in studio strobes. Of course, we already had it in speed lights. I really don't like ETTL for one very simple reason, exactly what you said. When I do manual, I have total control.
Yeah,
with ETTL, I often have with backlit situations like this, that my ETTL determines for me that the model isn't important, that it has to balance the backdrop.
Yep. The camera thinks and the flash think for themselves, and I want to determine if I want the background light or dark, and how light or dark I want to have the model. And with just a few test shots or with a light meter, you can determine that.
And as long as the distance stays the same, you only can correct it in Photoshop.
You're always right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing that I think is really cool nowadays is in the old days, like 4 or 5 years ago, what I did when I was on location, I would do a spot metering of the sky. And of course, you know that with 3 stops opening, you have pure white. With 4.5 stops down, you have pure black, so no detail. And I would literally just meter the sky, and I knew my setting for my strobe on my model.
Yep.
Nowadays, with the EVFs, like you have on your Fuji and I have on my Sony, I just dial it in by just ignoring my model, just look at the sky and just dial in the aperture. So I leave it on 125th of a second ISO 100, and it just starts changing the aperture.
Yep.
Until I see, oh, I really like this look. Then I look at the aperture, it's f16, I grab the light meter, put the strobe on f16, and I'm done.
Yep.
And I don't have to take that into account, like if it's a little bit too dark, let's shoot on a 60th of a second, because then I can go to 125th or to a 30th.
Yeah.
So now there's so many new tools.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is that ETTL, of course, is a new tool. But ETTL I don't like. But using the EVF, because you see what you do, I really love.
Yeah.
Do you use EVF that way?
Not a lot, no. I use it on the LCD screen, like I told you before. And what I do like about the new techniques is the high-speed flash, so you don't even have to think about the shutter speed anymore. So that's, for me, that's really a great thing. And one thing I don't have to do or shouldn't do at a shoot is thinking about numbers, because when I start thinking about, I know how everything works from f1.4 to 32 or something, but when I have to start calculating, my mind goes into a different mode, and the creativity stops. So
that's why I love that part, that we now don't have to use that spot meter anymore. Yeah. We just dial it in the EVF, how I like it, and then just look at the number and just put it in on the strobe. So that's
great.
Try it. It's really an awesome trick. Okay, next shot.
There's a question.
Oh, there's a question. What kind of on-camera flash do you use with your Fujifilm camera, Martin?
I use Godox flashes at the moment.
Okay.
They've got this speed light type of flashes. That's one that goes on the camera, but I use it off camera most of the time. And there's one that's called the AD200. That's something like this size, this big. And that's 200 watt seconds, and they both have TTL, ETTL, and high-speed flash and stuff. So that's why I got 2 of those AD200, 200 watt second flashes, and 2 smaller ones. And that's what I use most of the time. I also got a larger Profoto head that I use, like a big battery power 200 watt seconds as an extra flash. Mostly the Godox.
In all honesty, besides doing Christmas and Sinterklaas, so our family shots, I don't remember whenever I shot with a strobe on camera. It's always off.
Right. Yeah.
It's always off.
Always, yeah.
Even if it's almost under the same angle, it's still off somehow.
Yeah.
It's maybe like this.
And I hold it with my camera in one hand and the flash in the other or something.
So
like
it's still very close by, but it's always off. Somehow, I don't know. Okay, next shot. And I'll give you my opinion first. I love what you did here with the reflection, and especially that you see all the wires in the lighting. I love the color combination, that there's a little bit of red coming back. See, he's shining something, a car or... And I just love that shot. So what is it?
It's just a guy at work. This guy is he does polishing of cars and cleaning, like deep cleaning and like for expensive cars to make it shine totally. And this is a lamp that warms up the wax coating. And
that's why
he's just at work. I was doing a reportage for his website, shooting some shots, portraits, and him at work. And I really like the red light, so I thought, I have to use that red light, and this is things that I like doing, like sort of reportage, and still have the time to put some little flashes in to give a little bit more extra of myself. So this is all available light, and there's a little flash this is the, how do you call it, the hood of the car.
Yeah.
And behind the wheel of the car there's a little flash shining at his face.
How did you prevent lens flare, or sorry, reflections of the strobe in that shining surface?
The strobe is pretty far away, so you don't see it. And
so you can angle it, right?
Yeah, the windshield of the car is to the left.
Oh, okay, so it's on the other side.
Yeah, on the side of his hand. Yeah.
Did you use a red gel on the back, or is that all available?
No, this is the light of just the light of the lamp.
Absolutely awesome.
Yeah, just one flash and the rest is available light.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Really nice.
You forgot the question, Frank.
Oh, I forgot a question. What do you use? Oh, what do you use of systems for customer display? I think Pixieset or Dropbox or something else. Let me first do that. I use Dropbox and SmugMug. I really like SmugMug because you have this unlimited data. So you can have your portfolio running in the front, and then you have unlimited data on the back.
Yeah.
And Dropbox we use to deliver to clients. We have, I believe, 60 gigs of Dropbox.
Okay.
I really like that. So what do you use?
We've got our own Synology server, and then I make photo albums on that, and I can make them password protected or openly available, so people get a gallery. And for delivery, I use my Synology or we transfer. That's what I use most of the time. But and Pixieset, I just tried it out. I thought that's a sort of gallery program. I thought maybe that would be easy, but for now, the Synology does a great job.
Synology is an awesome brand.
Yeah.
We have all our NASAs here are Synology.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah.
The only thing is we never open it up for the public because we actually got fiber last year, and before that we had, when the wind was correct, we had 12 megabits down and 0.7 up. So if you want to download an image, it took for a week.
You need some really fast internet for that, but luckily we got that in our office, so it works fine. Yeah.
This shot I absolutely love, and this seems so easy and it's so hard because I always tell people, if you want to do symmetry, don't do it. Yeah. Because there will always be people that go like, hey, you're 3 pixels off on the left side, so make it on purpose not symmetrical.
Something,
and you're right. Now, when I look at this, it just hits me like her eyes are really nice and centered. I love the way that her mouth, this part, just follows everything. And I just love the tattoos. I love that one of her nails is actually black. And the pure, you can literally just see the pure over there on her finger. I think it's pure on one of her fingers. It just looks absolutely awesome. Yeah. What is this?
This is from a shoot for a lady that does. She designs latex clothing, the clothing that the model is wearing. And we shot this in a special bed and breakfast. She had arranged for a location, and the bed and breakfast was filled with beds with rubber sheets and crosses you can hang people on. And
the torture room.
It's for rent for parties. So if you want to have a party, I can give you the details.
I don't want to be hanged up secret. In a party.
I wouldn't, but that's one of the great things about my job. You get to locations you would otherwise not go to. So and it looks like a studio shot, but the white background is just a white curtain, a white window. So I exposed so that the white curtain would be, how do you call that?
Overexposed.
It would be overexposed, so it would be white.
Wrap around.
Yeah, and even a little bit more than overexposed. You see some flare coming from the back, and just put one flash in front of her to light her. And she's such a good model. She needs very little direction, and
she can't go anywhere.
She can't go anywhere. Yeah, but she just tries to figure out a way, not just to stand in there. That's a good thing about a good model. If you put just someone in that cage, you would be like this. But she thought, well, maybe I can put my arm something like this, and together you try to get a pose that looks good. And that's what I like about shooting. Also when working with a professional. Yeah, she's not a professional model. She's more of a dancer. But somebody who knows what they're doing.
They move,
and you work together, and they know how they can move, and I can adjust them a little bit, so it's good. It looks good, and the direction towards the lighting is good, and then together you make a great shot. Then
it's absolutely. I just love this shot. I can see it hanging in my bedroom. You too, Anouk?
No.
No? Oh, okay. Anouk doesn't want this in her bedroom. Sorry.
Okay, another one then.
Let's go to the other one. Okay, first thing that I notice is I love the expression on his face, and I really think this proves what I always tell people. The model doesn't have to look in the camera. It's some people are obsessed with the model have to look in the camera, and the thing is, when they look in the camera, I get so bored with the shot because it's always they're looking at me, and now I go like, where is he looking at? It gives me an extra story.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was there when I shot it, and even
of course you were there.
this photo even has a bit more of a story to it than I saw when I shot it. Well, I was a bit surprised when I took the photo. It was a photo of Maarten. He's a drummer of one of my favorite bands, and I took some photos during they were rehearsing, and just before they left, there was a little how do you call it, TL light?
A fluorescent tube.
Fluorescent tube, and I just took some shots of all 4 band members just underneath that fluorescent tube, and Maarten he had this thing around his neck, and he put it around his head, and he made a joke, a little bit of jokes, and I shot some photos, and he looked in my lens as well, and he looked away one time, and this is really a strong image because he's a really outgoing person, but here he's really into himself, like
almost like
thoughtful.
A thinker, thoughtful.
Yeah,
I really like it. And remember, it's shot with a fluorescent tube. A lot of people obsess so much with gear, and the thing is, I often do speeches for local photo clubs, and I always tell them there's always somebody at that photo club, and you know him. He goes like, oh, you're still shooting zooms? You should shoot primes. Oh, you're still shooting that A7R2? You should have the A7R3. Did you know that the Mark IV of that lens focuses 10 microseconds faster and has 1 petapixel, whatever? And I always go like, amateurs care about gear. Professionals care about one thing, getting the freaking shot.
Yep.
And if it's a fluorescent tube, it's a fluorescent tube. If it's daylight, it's daylight. Because a professional knows how to capture not a shot, but a story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not about... I think photography is not about photos. It's about capturing unique moments in time that never come back again. And that's our job.
Yeah.
To capture those moments. And then it doesn't matter if you use strobes or use fluorescent tubes or whatever. The shot is just awesome.
The image counts, yeah.
The image counts.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. My opinion, something that I always do, so portraits, models. What I really like is what you did with the skin. It looks almost like you used the red channel and just boosted that skin color to make it a little bit more porcelain, and you can also see it in the hairs.
Yeah.
And I like the gray. I like that the hand is so very nicely fit. This is so difficult to do. One, you see all the details. So in other words, you lit your background correctly. And this is what, and of course you did it correctly, but a lot of beginners will give a little bit too much light on the backdrop, and that will kill all those little hairs that you see on the side. And this is just spot on, because the backdrop is white, you see all the detail, and then when you look at her skin, it has a porcelain look. I really like the eyes, and the hand is there. The hand is there with a purpose. It's not just there because it's a hand, it's there with a purpose. Yeah. So what's the story behind this one?
Well, this is really a commercial shot for the company that makes the color for the hair. So we did a lot of shoots of models with the gray hair. But I really like this shot because, like you said, the skin color. A lot of times I make my images a little bit cooler. So I would use the color checker or my white piece of paper and get it to the right color, but then make it a little bit cooler so the skin gets a little bit more like a cooler color.
Porcelain.
Porcelain. That's what I look for, and I like that. And I also like of course, the look of this photo, and combined with the way her eye is lit, because there's no catch light in the top of the
her that's
eyes.
something that I see. Like, hey,
a lot of times I have a catch light in the top of their eyes because I like that sparkles, but it's not here. But you do see a little reflection of my panel underneath, and that gives, for me, it gives the eyes a bit of mysterious look, combined with the way her mouth is held and stuff. I got some other photos of her where she got a totally different look on her face. She looks in this image, she looks totally different than the other ones, and that's what I really like about this one.
A model should be a chameleon, being totally different every time. Okay, let's go to the next one. Now we're getting somewhere which I really like, street portraits.
Yeah,
I love it. And then the blue sign on the back. This guy just, the suit, it's all blues. And I recently picked up playing guitar again, and the cool thing was in the old days I loved shredding and really fast playing in metal. Always used the back elements, the bridge element. Now I use the front element, and I use more blues. And the cool thing is, when you look at this guy, the head, the pinstripe suit. Is it pinstripe?
Yeah,
It's a striped suit, and then the blues in the back, and it fits. Everything fits together. It's awesome.
Yeah. I met this guy. There was Ground Zero Blues Club. It's close to a little bit above New Orleans, and we stopped there, and we were having dinner with a group on a motorcycle ride, and then I went outside just to take a walk, and I met him, and I talked to him for about 20 minutes or so, and shot some portraits in black and white, and then other people started coming out, and he was still there, and this was one of the last shots I took, and I especially didn't make it to black and white, turned it into a little bit of more, just a little bit bluish.
Subdue.
Yeah, bluish, because I wanted the colors of the sign in, but I really thought the blue colors fit to the image as well. And this is it's also a bit the same as the other guy, like Martin. His photo, he's looking down, he's turned inwards to himself, and then I like quiet photos like that.
It gives you that extra layer of mystery.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, and I hear that again every time you say it, I first talked to the person.
Always, yeah.
It's when you do street portraits, guys, and this is really important. If you take a picture, give something back. And if you take a picture of a stranger, it can never be as good as a picture of a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say that after 20 minutes you're a friend, but at least you're an acquaintance.
You have a connection.
You have a connection, and then you can take way better images. And in all honesty, let's say you ask 10 people. How many people say no?
Not a lot. But a lot of people don't want to ask other persons before they shoot a photo because they say they don't want to disturb a scene. But a lot of times I shoot portraits, so it doesn't matter if I disturb a scene. Sometimes I see something and that's really great to shoot, and I shoot it right away. But most of the time I get in touch with the people afterwards. I talk to them and say I made a photo. But most of the time beforehand I talk to them, and that's you can read a lot of people's body language and see if they want to be photographed. If people are really shy or really hasty, I don't even want to try talking to them. But out of 10 people, most of the time 10 people say yes, because mostly everybody who has the time and is not too shy is always happy when someone is interested in them, if they want to hear their story. So
that's it. And a lot of people are afraid to ask. And I always tell people, what's the worst thing that can happen? That somebody says no. I never heard of somebody that dropped down dead after hearing no.
No. And people don't get angry at you. Or
no.
That's what. Of course, someone says no to me as well, and I don't like that. But most of the time, say yes.
Worst thing that can happen.
Yeah.
Oh, let me see. There is some questions here.
About black and white.
You show us many beautiful black and white photos. Black and white photography is beautiful, but in my eyes there should be both black and white items in a black and white photo. So what's your opinion about that? There are 265 gray tones to play with. Okay, let me first answer that. He says in a black and white image there should be pure black and pure white. I think no. It depends on what scene you shoot. And I always had problems when somebody tried to explain to me, when I was starting out with photography, I actually annoyed the heck out of somebody. And he said, it looks like a high key shot. And I didn't agree with him. I said, what's a high key shot? He says, if 80% of the shot is white. I said, what about 79? He said, yeah, of course. I said, what about 77? Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. I said, what about 76? He said, Frank, where are you going? I said, well, you just broke your own rule. If 80% is white, it's high key. So what is 97.5? I said, why do you label something with a rule? Why should there be 80% white in? For me, high key is actually the same as you do with music. If somebody can't sing in the key of A, you transpose it to the key of G. Yeah. So if you want a high key shot, I look at the skin of the model, and the skin is slightly overexposed and everything just wraps around. For me, that's a high key shot.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be 80%. Maybe there's a whole lot of black in there, but it looks like a high key shot.
Yeah.
And I think with black and white, it evokes emotion. Sometimes I just raise the blacks, so there's no black at all. It's just 10%. It's like a faded old. What was it? It's not. There was this film that actually, when you exposed it, there was no real black. It was like a little bit of grayish black.
Yeah.
And
but it's in fashion now as well.
Yeah,
when you look at Instagram. Yeah.
Try to blow out black and white film. A lot of people don't realize this. When you shoot color film or color digital files, you can overexpose very easily. With film, there was always this shoulder, and some black and white films actually had that shoulder, like Ilford. It just went on and on and on. And try to overexpose that. You couldn't get pure white because it just kept in that shoulder.
Yeah. There's so much.
Dynamic range.
Yeah. XP2 wasn't it? Something like that.
There was this one film that you just couldn't overexpose.
Yeah. But that's what you get a lot with photography. People lay rules on top of it. It should be this, it should be that. But I think when it's pleasing to the eye, when you know what you're doing and know when you're getting overexposed whites or blacks that are have no detail in it, then. But you're free to do with it what you want.
As long as you know.
Yeah, exactly. As you know what. And I personally like black and white that is pretty contrasty. So I like contrasty images. So I don't do that a lot with leaving the blacks a little bit lighter. So I like pure black and pure white in it, and maybe sometimes a lot of grays, sometimes a little bit of grays. It depends on what I think is fitting to the photograph.
Yeah, I do the same thing. When I do black and white, I always tell people I have to have contrast. Yeah. But it's not a rule for me. If the image fits to have that raised black, I will raise the black. Yeah. But it's not because I look at my image and go, there should be pure black. So that's what he's actually asking. Should there be 100% black? No. And 100% white. But in my case, and in your case also when I hear it, most of my images will have pure black and pure white.
Sometimes maybe 1 pixel, but
it's there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next one. I think we're getting to the end. I think that was the end. Kidding?
Must be a few more, but...
Let's see. Oh yeah, there's more. There we go. Oh yeah. Oh, I love this.
New York
Times
City.
Square, probably.
Absolutely.
And these guys walk there all around. And at first I didn't want to shoot it because I was like, I thought a little bit too much about when I put this online, I will actually piss off some other people.
Yeah.
And at one point you just have to stop thinking about it. And it's a cool shot. Now what I love about this is, I don't know what lens you use, but it's an extreme wide angle.
Fisheye lens, yeah.
A fisheye, relatively low angle, him pointing up. This is without any doubt a shot which I would give an A+. It's absolutely, it tells the story. You have all those signs on the side. It's ridiculous. How did you get this?
Yeah, well, just first I stepped up to him, asked him if I could take his picture. Of course, that was right. And I shot a photo. I had my fisheye on. I thought, well, let's try to shoot one with the fisheye. I shot from straight and a little bit more up and even more up. And then I went, my camera was almost on the bottom, pointing straight up. So all the buildings were pointing towards the middle. And then I asked him just to lean over a bit and then in the image. But just, that's the way I like working with wide angles, not always with fisheyes. But it can, with just a little bit movement of your camera, you put it a little higher or lower, there are a lot of things change in your composition.
Embrace the distortion.
Yeah, I love it because, and it's I also say it's a lens for lazy people. If you don't want to move too much, just use a wide angle, and a little movement gives a lot of difference in your image. So that's what happened. I just until I found a place where there was still the sense of a Times Square, but not too much distraction of people and street and.
Awesome. This is up until now. This is my favorite shot.
Great.
Okay. It seems like you shot a movie. It's everything fits. I love the guy. It's like almost like a reenactment. Look at the bike with the stuff in the front and everything he has on his steering wheel. This is one of those shots where you probably are in bed later and you just kept smiling and couldn't sleep.
Yeah, this is one of those
shots.
The
chicken in the back.
I love the chicken in the back.
Chicken?
Yeah,
awesome.
I really need the chicken in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this was also a shot that was shot pretty quickly. Like we were there, and this is Don Robertson. He just passed away last year, and he has got a couple of buildings in an old mining building, and he collects motorcycles, tractors, old vans and cars and stuff, and most of them still run. So he told us he had an old motorcycle and he would pick it up. So he came on driving up with his motorcycle. I stopped him, and one of the guys that was with me, I gave him my flash, and he held the flash, and I shot maybe 2 or 3 shots, and then whoop, he was off again.
Such a guy that you see in American pickers, where they have like this whole. It's not a hoarder because it's a picker, where you have this whole building filled with old cars and motorcycles. And again, the chicken, you know, the weird thing is, I love the shot, but the chicken makes it.
It makes it, yeah, absolutely.
Such a small detail, and the smoke, of course, but such a small detail, and it makes the shot. If the chicken wouldn't be there, it's still a great shot, but without the chicken.
A little bit of humor,
I like it. Okay, next shot. Okay, so this is somebody who really likes his drink.
Absolutely.
And I think it's actually in a distillery?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, this is in Lagavulin distillery in Scotland. And I went there with a friend of mine, Renier, and we made a reportage about Scottish whiskey. Renier is a writer, and he also loves people with great stories, and I do too. And we both love whiskey. So we decided we'd go to Scotland to do a reportage on whiskey and see what happens. And our first goal with the reportage was to score some free whiskey. So
You're smart.
Yeah, and that worked out fine.
I'm going to do one with Ferraris.
Yeah.
Are you in? Get some free
Absolutely.
Ferraris.
Don't know if that's going to be that easy, but we could try. We'll always try. And then this was a Lagavulin distillery, and this guy showed us around. It was at 9:30 in the morning, and he showed us around. We had a really nice talk with him.
9:30 in the morning and whiskey.
And this was the day. Luckily, Renier drove the car, and he showed us around and showed us a couple of good whiskies. And he talked about a nice bottle he is still lying around. And I wanted to have some photos of him. And this is also made in the same way like the other shot. Renier is standing to the left of my camera, holding a flash gun pointed at his head. And what I really like about this photo is that everything fits together in one frame, the composition. Like, I love it, the way the last bit of whiskey, when you look very good, it's the last little bit of drops of whiskey that fall into the glass. You see it towards the dark part of his sleeve, and the bottle exactly fits in the light part of the window, and his eye is just focused on the whiskey. So it really yeah.
And he really loves his whiskey.
He really loves it. And I've got this is one I shot about 5 shots of this, and the last shot he drinks it himself. So yeah.
So one tip:
last drop. Yeah.
Make the pictures before you drink.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you really need
Lagavulin,
strokes.
I don't know if you know whiskey, but if you drink Lagavulin at 10 in the morning, you're good for the day. Yeah.
Wide angle again?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is the same fish eye lens, and this is also a quick shot. You told before that I posted a picture every day, and this was one during the trip.
What was the name of that series? People and Their Stories?
No, it was called Everyday People.
That was it.
And I did it for about 2 years, and I did it for myself. It's my own project, and I wanted to take a picture of a person every day. So I shot a photo and made a little story with it and posted it. And next day I made another photo, and the next day after. I didn't make a photo on Tuesday, 5 photos on Tuesday and post it the rest of the week, but I made one every day. And for me it was like a training to be creative every day, and also to do something for myself, and also to meet people. When for example we were here, this guy had a little museum with cars. And I thought, well, maybe it's nice story to take a photo of him. And he wasn't too much pleased to have his photo taken, but he wanted to walk with me to the museum. I thought maybe it's a good idea to shoot him with wide angle, so all of the museum would be on. And what I do a lot is when I don't have lighting with me, and I still want the light on the face to be good, I just aim the people's head towards the lighting.
Yeah,
so
towards the lighting.
Fluorescent lighting on top, so he lifted his head, and I held my camera up and photographed him.
The cool thing about wide angles, what you do here, is actually, one, of course, you see the whole museum, and 2, you don't have a lot of problems with people in the frame, because there are a lot of people there.
Absolutely.
And by using that wide angle, you push them all to the back, they become smaller and insignificant. Because if you use, like, for example, a 35mm for this, all the people will come more to the front and make it more crowded.
Yeah.
And I love the lines here.
Yeah.
I have to get a wide angle. I have to get a fisheye.
Yeah.
I have a wide angle, 12mm, but still.
I don't use it a lot, but
when you use it, it's very creative and very
absolutely.
Cool. I want to show you one image of mine, because this was your last one, and let me see if I can find it very quickly, because it's on my. If I can't find it, I will literally just put it online somewhere. And it's something that I shot on Times Square, and it was such a lucky coincidence. Like you said with your shot, where you actually had the advantage of having all the signs in.
Yeah.
I saw somebody shooting somebody with an iPhone and with an iPad, and there was this triangle where literally everybody
was shooting
each other, and I just shot from the back, and everybody said you staged that shot, and it's 100% not staged.
Maybe someone took a shot of you as well while you were shooting.
Here we go. And this was
great.
100%. I was on Times Square. I saw the image, and I was just going like, "You must be kidding me!"
Yeah.
And I took the shot, and actually the guy shooting there, he 10 microseconds later, he dropped it and was going like, "What?"
Yeah.
And I just looked at the picture and go like, "That's funny, dude."
Yeah, that's really, absolutely great.
So that's what I love, and that's just forcing that part of luck. You're forcing it because you're on that space.
Yeah.
Hey, we're already 2 hours in, so
Wow.
that's the maximum for our broadcast. We said
Time
we
flies,
hope we
man.
can do 1 hour, but yeah, time flies. It's ridiculous. Thank you so very much for being here, Martin. I hope you liked it.
Absolutely.
And for you guys, if you liked it, leave comments below, and maybe we do some more interviews like this. Martin, I would like to thank you so very much.
Thank you, my friend.
Great. And for you guys, if you want to support our channel, we have something really cool on Patreon. I'm going to show you a video now very quickly about Patreon. After that, we're back with some news. Hey guys, and welcome to our studio in Emmeloord. My name is Frank Dorhoff, and today I want to talk to you guys about something that we get a lot of questions about. Hey Frank, how do you like this image? Hey Frank, what can I improve in this image? And of course, I love to help you guys out. But online, I mostly am limited to just saying, hey, I really like it, or continue like this, or change this. I can only do short images because, let's be honest, we get so many questions. So that's what actually got us thinking. And we started a Patreon. Now, what is a Patreon? Well, let me put it this way. Do you want an extensive photo critique every month? Do you want the bed phone, where you can directly contact me with any questions you have? Do you want to be a member of a group that's closed off on Facebook that have the same interest as you guys? That isn't about putting people down, but it's actually about helping people progress in their photography and retouching. Well, that's our Patreon. Now, by joining our Patreon, every month you can deliver 1 or 2 images. We're not that strict about it. And I will do a whole video. In that video, I will show you how I would do the retouching, what I would change about the shot, and I give you a whole lot of tips. That video is put online on a closed-off website. And it means that only the guys from Patreon can see that video and help you out. So I help you out, and the whole community helps you out. It's just an awesome way to learn. So, if you like what we do, of course the first thing you can do is subscribe to our channels, leave comments, and smash that like button because we really like it, and tell other people about it. But if you want to do a little bit more and help us out creating the awesome programs you enjoy, like Behind the Closed Doors, Digital Classroom, quite frankly, our upcoming podcast, Beyond Photography with the Dorhoffs, and a lot more, then please join our Patreon. I already know you're absolutely gonna love it. So head on over to the link below and start joining our awesome group on Patreon and get a lot of benefits. Thank you so very much for supporting our work. See you online. And we're back. Now, if you're in the Netherlands and you are in 2019 in March available, make sure at 23, 24, 25 of March to book your agenda for professional imaging. It's in my opinion, the best trade show in the Netherlands, right?
I love it, yeah.
And we have a lot of live shoots, we have the live shoot theater, we have a lot of speakers, and this year we actually have an experience. What is an experience? You will experience that, of course. You can shoot yourself, way more options to interact with the speakers, and tickets are available now. Next Digital Classroom, we will do something else. I don't know what yet, because hey, I never know what I'm going to do. But it's going to be awesome. And now we have something really special for our special guest. And Anouk is going to bring it in.
Well,
Thank you so much
Thank
for you and your wife, and a little box of merci.
Oh, merci beaucoup.
That's chocolate.
Thank you, thank you.
So keep it away from women.
I'll surprise my wife.
Hey guys, thank you so very much for watching Digital Classroom. If you like what we do, subscribe to our channel, leave comments below, smash that like button because we really like that, and of course tell other people about it and hit that bell notification so you get a bell whenever we upload something new. Thank you so very much, guys, and if you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments below. I say bye-bye. Bye-bye, Martin.
Bye-bye.
And have fun and keep shooting.